I encourage you to.
Hello and welcome to Martyn Lucas Investor. My name is Sensei and you're watching Martyn Lucas Investor. We're doing a special broadcast of XRP Community Day. I know the mood is down for XRP Community Day. Tons of issues. We've just experienced a few more here on XRP Community Day. Again, it's not on our end, it's on their end. They are not prepared as they should be for the XRP army. And the XRP community. We have got our next event about to start. So if I bring you this is ended.
We will share the
We've got our next event starting now. The one I'm excited about is Monica Long, because Monica Long is the president of Ripple. Let's see if that can yield any good results. But now we're going over to the XRPL roadmap. Programmability, privacy, native lending, and DeFi enablement. So I'm going to start that up. I'm going to come to your questions in a second, but let's tune in.
Amazing session here by David Bichiri, Fabio, and Brett about the new leadership at the XRPL Foundation. So definitely follow the people here on stage to keep up with further updates. And this leads us to the next session, which is about XRP features, what is upcoming, what is next, with amazing people at RippleX and, of course, Cryptenwriter. Let me first say hi to you all.
Hey all, how's it going?
I bet.
Hey Bet.
Hey there.
Hey, amazing! It's like a group of friends already here joining to have that amazing conversation. Jazzy's also on stage, I believe. Jazzy.
Hey Bet, how's it going?
Great, amazing. Well, yeah, we're going to start with this session here. To start with, first, I want to give sort of just very briefly an introduction to each one of you, and then Crippen, you can also do that for yourself. We have Mayuka, which is staff RippleX engineer. She did a bunch of research and amendment work. You know her from X, very active in the community, involved with everybody here. And we have also Ayo, who is head of engineering at RippleX. And I had the pleasure to have last year an end
Please
of year
do hit the
space
like
with him, which was
button and
amazing.
share this out
So great
on your
to see
way
him here
in.
on the stage as well. And we have an OG actually as well, and Ripple OG, which is Jazzy, coming from the head of product at RippleX, and did a bunch of DeFi. You guys remember with the AMM, you have seen her posts and also her takes around it. So with these three guests, we have also Cryptenwriter.
Hey guys, for people that don't know me, I do education on X mostly, and also, which is pretty new, I do a show that is called Cryptenwriter TV with that actually, where we talk about XRP Ledger mainly and XRP and the whole ecosystem, which is basically everything which we care about also right now, about the institutional DeFi roadmap that got released just a few days ago. And on this, Jazzy, just straight up, let's jump into this. Why do we care about FX payments, tokenized collateral, and credit right now? What are this? What are we solving with these new use cases?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Crippen, and thanks for having us. Excited to be here and to chat about this. So to take a step back, I mean, we're really looking at the intersection of two main areas. The first is where there are serious problems in finance, particularly institutional finance, that result in inefficiencies or unequal access, or trapped balance sheet. Today. And also the second area is where there are clear technical advantages of blockchain technology, particularly the XRP ledger. So we know the XRPL is fast and cheap. There's other clear advantages around how the features work, being built at the protocol layer rather than a smart contract level. And so if you look at those two spaces and where the intersection is, payments, credit, and collateral have really come across as three opportunities for us to solve real problems in existing institutional workflows, rather than sort of speculative use cases or use cases that are trapped to only a crypto native audience. And so if we look at each of them more specifically, payments, for example, cross-border rails, as we know, are slow, expensive,
Can everyone make sure on your way in, please hit the like button and
on the
subscribe.
collateral
We've got
side,
Monica
there's
Long coming
major
up.
problems
Let's
around
see if
trapped
she
balance
turns
sheets
around
and
the
slow
mood.
settlement cycles, unnecessary counterparty risks, for example, without atomic exchange of assets. And then on the credit side, we have fragmented manual financing infrastructure, inaccessible funding venues, or inaccessible investment opportunities on the lender side. And so the goal is really to make these faster, atomic, and programmable on chain by building features in these use cases on the XRP ledger.
This DeFi roadmap that RippleX was publishing and Ripple publishing, I have to say, was really like overall really great because it gave like exactly that insight with examples and interesting use cases, how XRP's utility plays into this as well as the center of it. For example, auto bridging and a bunch of other functionalities. That was really great to see, and I love to follow that roadmap along, of course, with all of you guys. From that part that Jazzy was talking about IO, I'm interested, and Jazzy was like already touching on it a bit here, is from a architecture point of view, from a XRPL ledger point of view. Why is the XRP ledger in a really great position exactly for this right now? And what are maybe some upcoming features that we can then talk about after that would play into that?
Yeah, no, I think Jazzy covered a lot of it. I would add that XRPL from day one has been designed and purpose-built for deterministic execution. Right? If you think about smart contract platforms, it's sort of wild, wild west. You can deploy anything and everything. But when you think about deterministic execution, it's predictability, it's consistency. And I feel like XRPL has sort of cornered the market on building the right primitives that unlock financial use cases at scale. And that's the first big reason that I think XRPL is like primed for this time. And then the second thing is just frictionless, and low cost asset movement. So fees are cheap, simple APIs for launching tokens and tokenizing assets. So those two things together, I think, just kind of work really nicely. And then when I think about just the evolution of XRPL, we're able to evolve the ledger without actually fragmenting it. And we have all these native primitives at the protocol layer that just directly fit into financial workflows. And so this is really the time for XRPL to shine.
So Jesse was like mentioning tokenized collateral, credit, and FX payments. It's like as a really main use cases that are very promising, and there's a lot of product market fit out there. What are some features that the XRP ledger already has or needs to do exactly these things? For example, collateral or lending that you can mention.
Yeah, I think one of the simple things that you talked about earlier is that auto bridging feature that's inside the DEX. When liquidity gets thin, between two assets, right? The fact that the ledger automatically routes through XRP to get the best possible price just kind of makes it seamless, and I think that's a nice feature that I think will become even more pronounced as permission DEX, permission domains are coming live. Just kind of give more structure to the market. But yes, those kind of unique features that are part of the XRPL architecture that I think are going to shine and bring additional utility to XRP.
There are so many new features. There are also multi-purpose tokens, token escrow, batch transactions, and all the stuff around permissioned as well. Permission domains, permission DEX. Jazzy, maybe help us understand
Someone's asking
why
about
do we
a
need all
lunch
these new
meeting between
features,
Ripple
and
and
will this
Swift.
really
I have
help
no
XRP
information.
and
I
the
believe
XRP
it's
ledger
fake.
to accrue more liquidity and volume on chain?
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely a lot in the roadmap, as you guys saw in the recent institutional DeFi roadmap piece. If we start with permission domains and permission DEX, two of the most recent features, taking a step back, the XRP ledger has supported open payments and the permissionless decentralized exchange for a very long time, arguably, longer than any other blockchain. There were order books at first, and then more recently, we proposed and added an automated market maker, but all of that was still permissionless. With a payment, when you look at institutional use cases, that usually works fine because you can send directly to a known counterparty. But with the decentralized exchange, or most exchanges in general, your counterparty is unknown. So it's really about open price discovery and matching. And while this is great from a permissionless perspective, this is a problem for regulated institutions because they can't trade with an unknown counterparty and still meet their compliance restrictions. So by adding a feature like the permission domains and then the permission DEX on top of that, what we're doing is allowing for institutions and regulated entities to access these benefits of cross-currency payments and trading on the XRP ledger, without, violating compliance expectations. And what's unique on top of this is the approach we used on the XRP ledger does this in a way that it doesn't create liquidity silos. We've seen fully permissioned protocols launched in other ecosystems before, and unfortunately, they largely failed. And I think the problem here was they were fully separate and siloed from the other, permissionless DEX or lending protocols. But by building it with the permission domains mechanism, it's very simple to arbitrage between the permissionless DEX and the permission DEX to allow liquidity to flow freely between the two systems. So you really get the best of both worlds. And the net effect there is institutions can use XRPL for production, payments, and FX, and not just experimentation. So, that's one example on the payments and FX side. We can, certainly get into similar examples later in the conversation on the credit as well as collateral side.
By the way, for those who don't know, Jazzy is a huge fan of the native functionalities of the XRP ledger and how it differentiates itself from other solutions, as you can tell, and how she was saying, which I love that how you put that out. One thing that comes to my mind specifically when you mentioned the permissioned DEX and also that it's aggregating liquidity and not segregating liquidity. We definitely see like a lot of protocols who do like different version updates, version 2, 3, 4, and each of it is its own protocol with its own liquidity that they cannot just take with them. So that segregation is not on the XRP ledger because it's all native aggregated. Yeah, that's a huge plus specifically for institutions. In these things, specifically with the compliance building blocks that we just touched on, the order book, the XRP ledger DEX, I'm curious if you can maybe expand a little bit, Jazzy, on how like features like MPTs, token
escrows, how that resistance is very important.
Fit specifically in the process
above it bullish,
of
below it bearish.
Utility for, I guess, XRP as a token, and for institutions in that aspect.
Yeah. So MPTs is a new multi-purpose tokens is a new token standard on the XRP ledger. It's lighter weight than IOUs. It has other advantages that make it very well suited for tokenizing real world assets, for example. And on top of that, which I'm sure Io will go into in more detail, we're building privacy functionality on top of the MPT token. And so when you start to piece these things together, MPTs, batch transactions, and then privacy, you start to get the ingredients for institutional grade delivery versus payment, which is basically the ability to exchange assets and cash atomically in the same transaction, which reduces counterparty risk. So this is a really clear, value creation opportunity for blockchain technology solving a real world, financial problem. In terms of, XRP fitting in, I think on the base level, XRP is always used for transaction fees and also account reserves, and in some cases, object reserves as well. But I think there's more unique things we can build on top of that. I think it makes a lot of sense to use XRP as the cash leg of a repo transaction, for example, in some cases, because stablecoins are often subject to different regulations in different geographies. And XRP, we know is regulated, we know is global, and can just make it a lot simple and more global by replacing it on the cash leg as well within the transaction.
XRP is the only asset on the XRP ledger without a counterparty and that any account can hold. And that makes it very differentiated, obviously. Yes. Crippen.
Another differentiator is also not only that XRP has no counterparty, but also that in contrast to other networks, most of the, or all in this case right now, all features are primitives. They are native features. But Mayuka, what I would really like to know, because you're on the programmability side of programming, why do we want primitives, or why do we still want primitives to be the main focus right now? What makes it so different to have it all native and as a primitive on chain?
Yeah, so I think primitives are a really good selling point for the XRP ledger, because it means that everything just is sort of built in, it works natively, it's going to be battle tested, audited, all of that, and it's just a transaction. You don't need to specify anything separate, you don't need to write your own code, it'll just work. And with respect to the DEX specifically, it means that we don't have any liquidity segregation, as Jazzy was talking about earlier. It's all just one big native DEX. It's not, several different DEX smart contracts or anything like that. And that especially becomes a benefit when you integrate something like the permission DEX into that. Having that as a native feature means that you can have that easy arbitrage. You can have it all be just super seamless. You don't need to integrate with some other system, with some other smart contract. It's all just, the XRP ledger is all just one big smart contract, if you will. It's a very seamless process. It's all just very automatically integrated. All you have to do is specify one extra field as a part of your permission DEX. So it's the exact same process, basically no change as long as you're properly permissioned. And I think that's just makes it so much easier to use.
Did you
I
also
guess not.
mention? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying, you mentioned, did you also mention, because this is something that you always also highlight, the human readable transaction outputs that you can generate?
Yeah, absolutely. Human readable, human generatable. You can just look at the transaction, see what the fields are, and roughly understand what that transaction is going to do just by looking at it. And you don't necessarily need, a whole bunch of tooling to just understand what your transaction is going to do, let alone understand how it integrates with the whole system. You have your escrow object is named escrow. Your offer, when you're trading, your offer object is named offer. It's all just super simple, super human readable, super easy to use. Once you, if you just understand how these things work, you know exactly how to work with them.
Going with this, one of the other points that Jed was pointing out in the beginning about interesting use cases, and it certainly is like one that a lot of people in the XRP community right now are looking forward to. I mean, Brad was mentioning it in the opening space. Definitely, when you look at Evernorth with Ashish, how they have mentioned it multiple times, is of course the lending protocol. This is right now currently up for voting on the XRP ledger. And a lot of people are looking into it. Some people playing already around with it on the DevNet. So maybe you can tell us a little bit more about that, Jesse, why it is such a significant addition to the XRPL and how it ties like into this whole DeFi ecosystem to have essentially native credit on chain.
Yeah, definitely. This is definitely an exciting one for me and the team as well. Credit is a brand new financial and technical primitive we're looking to bring to the ledger in 2026, as you mentioned. If we take a look at what's wrong today, what's missing today, what we've proposed here, I think is fundamentally different than what exists on other blockchains today, which is typically more of a money market or margin instrument where you over collateralize one asset, typically crypto, and then borrow cash, which is really great for crypto users, but doesn't solve the much broader real world financial problem and around financing and balance sheet expansion. So what XLS 65 and 66, the lending protocol and single asset vault, will introduce is credit functionality, including capital aggregation or fundraising, on-chain loan origination and servicing, default management, and then, of course, yield accrual or ROI on the investor side. And so this approach brings a number of different advantages, both to off-chain as well as on-chain lending today. So native lending makes originating, collateralizing, and
XRP
settlement
looking to
fully
break out now.
programmable on-chain. This version of lending will leverage a third-party custodian in the event that it's a collateralized loan, and then we're looking at future versions that bake that right into the protocol. So more to come on that front. And it really just removes a lot of the issues around settlement delays, reconciliation problems, and just allowing new financing use cases such as payments financing or working capital to be directly on chain for the first time. So we're really excited about this. We're already seeing both grassroots projects from the XRPL like Soil adopting, experimenting, talking about this, which is great. We're also seeing large institutions looking to the lending protocol to for balance sheet expansion, essentially, and to tap new capital sources. So really good signals from the market so far. And I think XRP can play, right into this in terms of both, gas and account reserves, liquidity for funding. There's obviously a lot of XRP that's sitting unused today, and being able to lend that out, earn yield on your XRP, and also provide a new funding
Massive
source
point
to
there,
borrowers
yield
is
on
really a win-win
XRP.
for the ecosystem. So we're really looking forward to this one.
Crippen, I remember you were mentioning about with the lending protocol how we talked about this with the capital requirements that are different and the advantages.
Yeah,
Do
the
you second that?
the institutional approach is, I think, what makes this very different to other, let's say, more decentralized or approaches that are off chain, either off chain completely, or that are completely on chain, like Aave, for example. So this hybrid, so this kind of middle ground, which will use the best of XRP and XRPL, but also give institutions like a chance to use what they already know and love. Which brings me to the question, Jazzy. I mean, many people many listeners right now will probably also like to know, will Ripple themselves also use the lending protocol, or is this just something for the broader institutional market or retailers like us?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I will defer to the my counterparts on the Ripple payments team to confirm or deny their plans there. I do think that the lending protocol from a technology perspective makes a lot of sense for the payments financing use case. I do think that that product set has seen a demand for credit in the past, and the ability to do that in a decentralized way by tapping the economic value that's sitting in millions of accounts around the world of XRP holders.
She could have just
really
said it's
lines
something
up
we're looking
from
at
a
doing. She was
supply and
like, I
demand
can't
perspective.
confirm
So
or deny.
I think that's all I'll say on that front.
Yeah, let
Sounds good.
me also let me definitely also say that I'm really happy that Mayuka did the Q&A here, where people were able to ask questions for the Ripple payments team about the XRP Ledger DEX integration. That was really good. So I hope to see more of that definitely also in the future, Mayuka.
There
So-
are
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
When we talk about institutional products and institutional demand, like I always think there's this one puzzle piece that is missing. We already know about compliance, and everyone is talking about compliance, like permission domains, permission text. We already know this. We know we need liquidity, and it needs to be regulated and compliant. But there's also privacy, which is like a really difficult topic, because privacy is something we all want, but at the same time, it's pretty complicated on a technical level because we are talking about zero knowledge proofs. So maybe before we go deep into privacy, help us understand what is zero knowledge proof. Try to elif 5 zero knowledge proofs for us.
Yeah, I'll try to keep this straightforward from a technology perspective. I think zero knowledge proofs have been around for a really, really long time, and they just didn't find adoption until blockchains come along in a massive way, right? And the fundamental tool that zero knowledge proofs represents is the ability to prove a statement is true while holding back the sensitive and private information that would validate that proof. And there's a lot of applications for zero knowledge proofs. I mean, privacy and how we think about hiding information or confidentiality is one way to think about it, but it's also useful for
Guys, this is
compressing
super
information
embarrassing
so
for them.
you
They've
can
only got
verify
1,000 people
a
watching
large
them.
amount of
We've
data
got half of
with
that
very small
on YouTube with a
small
smaller
proof,
channel.
right? So for reducing storage costs, as an example. But in the institutional use case, but before I keep going, does that help with at least a good sort of high level way of
Yes.
understanding the tool? Okay,
Definitely.
cool. So the second phase of this is that how do we actually instantiate this on a blockchain, right? And in our particular case, again, we care about scale, we care about security, we care about privacy as use cases for zero knowledge proofs. But when I hone in on just the privacy, the context is this, right? What people do today when they want to hide information is that they store it in a database, they wrap it on APIs, they might encrypt that data, they may not. But there's usually access controls that are part of determining who gets access to that piece of data. And that works for a large percentage of the audience, right? A large part of the world. But when you have to maintain the security of it, depending on the use case, that actually breaks down because that data becomes a honeypot. And if it's maintained by a single party, then that party becomes the central point of failure. And so there's this. So when you think about the reason that you would actually want to achieve privacy on a public chain, it's really because you want to leverage shared infrastructure. You want to reduce your attack surface by shifting the complexity from one database to many databases, right? And the net effect is that we have public shared infrastructure that are blockchains, but we desire private interactions. And institutions have been expressing that through saying that, hey, we want to protect our customers and that they want to do things with digital assets. They want to trade against it. They want to, they want to move it for different reasons. But we want those interactions to be private. We don't want the whole world to know exactly how our customers are deciding to use and leverage, this new technology. And so that's where the motivation comes from to kind of bring this technology on a public ledger, but preserve the confidentiality and hiding the sensitive information, between the parties that are involved in that interaction. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so privacy essentially enables then security, right?
Correct. Yes. And an analogy I can give to kind of help people that are coming from a Web 2 kind of perspective is like when you log into your bank, right? It's an HTTPS connection. It's a secure connection that's private and it's over a public internet, right? The network itself is open, but the connection between you and the bank is encrypted and private, right? That's the same mental model that we're applying here for public blockchains, in that it's public shared infrastructure, but it's private interactions. And that's where zero knowledge proofs really, come in.
So with zero knowledge proof and privacy basically coming on a public blockchain or can be incorporated on a public blockchain, we have privacy and scalability, which you can then do. Like very specific on the XRP ledger, what are some interesting use cases that it would enable using like privacy? Because I remember like maybe you want to touch on this. You mentioned maybe payment channels could be something done with it.
Yeah.
Interoperability. Maybe
Yeah.
you can dive more into this. I think it would be great.
Yeah, so there are definitely a lot of interesting use cases. In the payment channel example, it's more about allowing you to pay a service, an online service privately, without them being able to identify you as a customer. So if you think about VPNs, being able to surf the web, at an internet cafe, but the service provider or the VPN service is not able to track your network your network activity, right? So that's like a low-hanging fruit that people that are looking for privacy would, obviously leverage the intersection of payment channel and zero knowledge proofs to kind of get this streaming payments type of, private streaming payments type of, use case. But for like interoperability, I think the value is really just the ability to connect chains in a trustless way using a different set of techniques. Is the other.
I just want to hear
other
from
value
Monica
prop,
Long, and
right?
that's
And we
it at
talk
this
about
point.
protocol
Guys, stay
as
with me.
one place.
Monica
This
Long
could
will be on
a real
shortly,
value add.
and we can get something from
and then
someone
there's like
high up at
on this,
Ripple.
Ayo, yeah, if I may ask, you mentioned like with ILP, how would that connection like work, or where would it touch it?
So if you think about how Interledger works, I know you're one of the experts on how the protocol works, but it's really a simplistic protocol that allows people to send value, with a risk calculation, right? Like, I'm only going to send as much as I'm willing to trust you, right? So I send a penny, I'm willing to lose that penny. But the idea is that you form a network.
Guys, are you happy
nodes
with
that
the
are willing
event
to
that
send
Ripple
money
put on?
to
The event
different
that we're
connections,
watching with Ripple, yes or no in the
at a low
chat?
cost,
Yes or no?
right, to them, because so it's a probabilistic type of protocol.
Are you
in that
happy as
sense.
an XRP
And so
holder
the
on
more connections
XRP
you have,
Community Day?
obviously the faster to move value, right? But being able to do this with different, currencies, right, different chains, was where the cost of integration kind of becomes high, and leveraging payment channels, like payment channels were becoming standardized, about 10 years, well, about 5 to 7 years ago, across the big chains. Obviously Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRPL both have this as a building block. But the idea was just to kind of leverage, this as a building block to make it easy to form large distributed networks of nodes that are willing to send small amounts of money, but offering privacy in this context makes it such that you could send money anonymously through this network and not have to trust. Basically, you're able to reduce the amount of trust you have in the network, because you're able to move value in this anonymous way across different chains. Obviously, it has some regulatory issues, because being able to KYC and sort of meet the regulatory requirements for these networks has been a challenge in practice. And so adding privacy there
it's been an awful performance from Ripple. I hope you've at least enjoyed what we tried to do. We put in more effort
Where's
than them.
Ripple looking to add privacy, maybe initially with some amendments?
Great question. I think if you look at how our token standard with multi-purpose tokens, or MPTs, has been evolving, we're seeing more adoption. And so if you think about stablecoins being reissued as an MPT, there's an opportunity to add confidentiality as an extension to this token standard that gives us optionality between if you want to explore this for stablecoin payments to add privacy, versus if you want to deal with tokenized assets, right? And in terms of we've talked about repos as a concrete example where people are using collateral and borrowing against it to trade, and being able to do that quickly, right? So in both,
I think it would have been
cases,
like
it's still
10 times better if we could see their
which
faces.
is like being able to encrypt the transaction amounts.
Why are these people not on
do the same thing
camera?
with identities, but we're starting with encrypting the amounts, so that's not visible in public. But then adding zero-knowledge proofs for the proving of the correctness of that encrypted transaction, so that validators are confident that there's no double spend, there's no negative balance, or negative amounts that are being spent. But the same validation logic that validators execute when the transactions are clear, we're leveraging zero-knowledge proofs to execute those same functions.
Guys, can I have my money
while
back?
the transaction's encrypted. So that's really the balance that we're introducing on chain. And obviously, we can get into the details another time of the type of zero-knowledge proof that we're executing. But conceptually, it's just really bringing encryption and zero-knowledge proofs together in a meaningful way that makes it easier to add privacy on a public chain for MPTs.
That's awesome.
Yeah, sounds pretty fascinating, and also complicated, but also very necessary, especially also in combination with compliance. Mm-hmm. What I would like to know from all of you guys right now is if you could just in a few words describe what you are personally focused on right now. I think, Mayuka, for you, very obviously programmability, maybe? I guess so, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody who's been following me knows I've been working hard on what we're calling smart escrows. So essentially, our vision for
I'll give you my full
programmability
thoughts
is
at the end. It's not
making
too negative,
keeping
but
what makes the
I'll give you
XRPL
my thoughts
special.
in a
So
second.
that would be,
I'm
a
reading
lot of
all
the
your
primitives
comments.
that I was talking about earlier. We don't want to replace them. We want to, augment them, make them better. So what we're really looking at programmability at is the glue that'll connect these native building blocks, these primitives, with a little bit of flexibility for custom on-chain business logic. And so smart escrows is the first of what we're calling smart features that'll do this, which basically takes the existing escrow primitive and makes it just a little smarter, a little more customizable, so that people have a little more flexibility with how they can use it. And right now we're deep in the review and testing phase, and hoping to release that soon.
Martyn
for,
is okay. He
for
has
amendment voting and for
taken back
people
control
to
of his
use.
systems.
So very excited about that and looking forward to that.
Maybe you and you and Jesse as well. Just a few words. We have just a couple more seconds.
Sure. Yeah, I can go. I'm gonna cheat and say two, but I'll be concise. Credit on the tech side, I think, is very exciting. It's an entirely new technical primitive. We're seeing interesting projects pop up, as I mentioned before, both grassroots and institutional. So I think this is just a really exciting new, technical infrastructure on XRPL. From a market perspective, I think on-chain collateral mobility and repos are clearly the sweet spot. It's just such a big problem in traditional finance today, with a very clear and obvious solution on-chain without even much change to the tech stack. On the TradFi side, collateral is just so siloed and slow to move. We have cash in one account, treasuries locked up in its own, verticalized system, equities isolated in another,
God, Brad
and moving
just blocked its time we the people.
to settle, to rehypothecate is just a huge pain, and it's very, very slow and inefficient. So bringing this on chain,
that
faster
person
settlement,
did. That's what I
directly
was
unlocks
just
capital
thinking.
efficiencies,
Let me mute this for a
and is a
second.
clear
I don't
advantage
have
that can be
any idea what
solved
they're
with
talking about.
basically a simple
Oh,
dash
how do I mute
transaction.
that?
So really excited about that from a market perspective.
It's time with the people. I was thinking the exact same thing. It's all. Why is everyone so monotone? That person from Grayscale, the ETF person, and also even potentially the Aviva guy, because he was like from the UK and he had to stick with what he was saying. But that person from Grayscale, that lady from Grayscale, go watch it back. She was amazing. The way she was articulating her words, the way that she said she was long on XRP since 2017, the way she was telling us about her product. She was great. But 90% of the people here, I guess, maybe they're developers and they're just boring people, but the energy is not there with any of these people. I'll give you my full thoughts in a second as well. Let me go back to... Stuart is on stage. Here we go. Let's see what Stuart also has to
With
say.
all of you, Crippen,
Thank you,
Mayuka,
Kevin.
Jazzy, and Ayo. Make sure to always look in the comment section, by the way, for the occasional swag drops. They happen every now and then, and first come, first serve. And with that, I want to lead to the next session, which is here with Stu and Chrissy.
I wouldn't be promoting the comment.
Sure to stick around. It's going to be an awesome conversation. And happy community day, everybody.
They're going to see all the Lucas aids saying all this, what we think.
Thanks a lot, Matt and Crippen.
Okay, here we go. Stuart Alterati, the one that brought us out of the lawsuit, one of the key legal officers there. He's a bit boring as well, but at least he has some credibility behind his name. Let's listen into Stuart. Let's see if this event can be turned around. I'll give you my full thoughts and opinions on XRP at the end, the charts, this, that, and the other. But now we have to listen to
this is
Stuart.
Stu Alderodi.
We have to give him some respect. Did he just... Oh, God, he doesn't answer the phone.
Can you hear me? I just wanted to be sure.
Yeah, Chrissy, I can hear you.
Great, perfect.
All right. So thanks, everybody, for joining. I'm Stu Alderodi. I think many of you know me as Ripple's Chief Legal Officer, but I'm here today wearing my other hat as President of the National Cryptocurrency Association, the NCA. As some of you may know, the NCA is a non-profit. It was created to make crypto accessible for everyone. We saw too much information and confusion out there when it came to crypto, and we wanted to change that. And our mission at the NCA is simple. We want to help everyday Americans understand and use crypto with confidence. We've been conducting research to get to the true picture of crypto in America. And what we found is that crypto doesn't have a type. Its holders, it spans ages, it spans regions, income levels, and more. Nearly a third of crypto holders in the US are women. More work in construction than work in finance. More people over 55 own and use crypto than under 25. And they're using it more than just investing. They're using it for shopping and donating, for art.
Guys,
for
be
real
honest, is
estate,
anyone
and
using
even cattle
crypto for
ranching.
shopping? Yes or
But
no
here's
in
the
the
challenge.
chat?
The
Is
number
anyone
one
using
barrier
crypto for shopping?
for
Yes or no
those
in the
not
chat?
yet using crypto in the United States, and we think there are over 80 million crypto curious in the US, there's a knowledge gap. They just don't get it. They feel overwhelmed, and they're trying to learn about it, which is why they need resources that they can understand and trust, and the NCA is building those resources. We build free tools like 101 courses, basic introduction to crypto that you can find on our website. We have a hands-on risk-free simulator to try if you want to figure out
Guys,
how do I
I
open
think
a
you've
wallet?
misunderstood
How do
me.
I
I'm
make a
not talking
deposit? How
about
do I actually purchase crypto? You can do it in a simulated
I'm
environment
not
on
talking
the
about your
NCA.
Coinbase card or your crypto.com card, which essentially all it does, it sells your crypto at a bad fee. Then you have to, and then it converts it to dollars, and then it pays you dollars. I'm asking, has anyone actually shopped with crypto itself? Not with a random Binance card or a Robinhood crypto card or whatever. That's not actually paying with crypto. That's paying with US dollars because it sells your crypto at a bad rate, and then you convert it to dollars. I'm talking about, has anyone actually bought with crypto?
She's a
4773
consultant, she's a
tipped 50,000
caregiver, and she
to
is a
super
long
chat.
time.
I think this show is quite important because it teaches people's mindset about investment, not being FOMO like casino.
I think today's very important. I'm still trying to take in as much as I can. I just wish they put on a better show. I'll give you my thoughts in a second, but I still think this day is very important for XRP
Tell us all
holders.
about it. So, welcome, Chrissy.
Hello, welcome to the amazing day that this is. Thank you so much for having me, Stu. I am just feeling great and honored to be here. I feel like XRP Community is just, you all
Who
are
is
just
this
my sisters
person?
and brothers from another mother. I am
Be
so
alive, be
grateful
mindful, be
for my
healed, be
journey,
transformative, be
and just
paid. Who
so
is this
grateful to be
person?
able to speak with you today.
That is fantastic. Let's start at the beginning, Chrissy. Just tell us, how did your crypto journey start?
Wow. I chuckle a lot thinking about this because there are other people that were telling me I'm from the stone ages of crypto.
Oh, it's just a long time
But I'm pretty happy
crypto
about
holder.
that today, just
What's
because
going
of
on?
the journey that has really helped me to build the strength to stand where we are today. But my journey it started really, really early, back in 2009. And at that time, I was just newly married, had a new baby, in a job that I had been at for several years. And pretty much that job was phasing out. And so a friend of mine, he and we had been talking about investments. We both, we had our 401ks and our traditional setups,
Can
but
anyone tell me
he had a
what's
new
going on?
baby as
Why do we
well,
just
and
have a
we
normal
both were
crypto holder
talking
on the
about
call?
we wanted something more. And so just over the time, he and I just started to talk, and we're like, okay, because we kind of felt the deck was stacked against us, recession and everything, and we were trying to educate ourselves. And he was going to educate himself with stocks, and I was going to educate myself with Forex, and then we would share the information and just, okay, yeah, we'll make a plan for our families. However, in the middle of all this, just one beautiful, fateful day, I am so grateful for today. He came to my desk and he's like, hey, he's on this forum, and there was this coin that was on this forum, and we could purchase this coin. And he said, hey, you know, they're saying that this is the new money and it's already increasing in price and people are exchanging goods and services with it. And so he was that guy that, you know, we were good friends. Pretty much everyone in our work community were close knit. And so he was that guy, though. He was forward thinking, you know, he was always on the cutting edge of tech and tech news. He was very well researched. So anything he said, we're like, okay, yes, whatever he says, let's go with it. And honestly, you know, it seemed like a thing to do. So, you know, of course, your work day's going on, and I wanted to go back and ask him that particular day, like, you know, how do I
Yeah, I know they're
get started?
promoting
And so I was
Stuart's
standing by
company.
his desk, and I was waiting in line because he was talking to someone else. And in that moment, just because of everything that was going on, I mean, you know, people were, you know, in my own department talking about what they were going to do, you know, if we lost our jobs, because we were under the threat of losing our job. My husband had already lost his job during that time. Also, people were trying to choose between gas and lunch money, you know. So it was a very
I've just
difficult
requested to
time. And
speak.
so I thought to myself in that moment, you know, what if I give up, you know, this, I want to buy 100, you know, but what if I give this money up and I don't have enough and they give me a layoff because we
At
had been
Honvu
getting many notices. And so
4773
I just
tipped
talked myself out of
50,000 through
it.
Super
But
Chat.
that
Wish I was
particular
a market
seed that
maker.
he
Rolling
planted
on the floor
to
laughing
let me
emoji.
know
So
that there
heartbreaking
was
moments.
this
Smiley
new
face emoji.
emerging tech on the horizon and that people were actually using it and it was being viably, you know, people were exchanging goods. I'm like, okay, hey, you know, this is something I should do. And that was a seed, even though I did not buy in at that time, which of course I've had my own moments of regret, but
Guys, I've done it. I've requested to speak.
but
Let's see
that
what
was a
happens.
seed
Yeah.
that
I
planted
assume that was
really.
yeah.
Yes.
I assume that was Bitcoin, right?
It was, yeah.
Yep, yep. So you didn't. So you had an opportunity to buy into Bitcoin in 2009. You didn't. So okay, we don't have
Yes.
a time machine. We can't go back. We'll let
Right,
everyone grieve.
right. Yes.
But eventually you did become a crypto holder. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so, you know, just over the years, I continued to seek and research and just learn, you know, of course, he transitioned, so I don't, you know, I didn't have access to him in you know, getting the information that I was wanting from that. But, you know, we stayed in touch for a little while afterwards,
Can
but,
someone
you
tell
know,
me
of
the
course,
point of
life was
this?
happening. But at the time, you know, there were just so many other things that I could invest in, but crypto just never left my mind. I mean, it was just something about it. And I just felt like, you know, if I could get the information, that is really what I was looking for. If I could just get the information to figure out, you know, what this was. I mean, at that time when he said that they were exchanging goods and services, of course, in my mind at that moment, that's the use case, that's the purpose. You know, we can just, you know, buy things with this, or I can barter, is what I was really thinking. But just over the years, you know, my interest continued to peak, and I discovered like these different forums and portals and websites that had information on it. There were some other investments that I was interested in, but you know, they had these barriers to entry. You had to have a certain amount of money to invest. You had to have a certain amount of net worth. And during that time, you know, I just didn't have that. And so I really loved the fact that crypto showed promise. There was no huge minimum investment. Everyone pretty much could participate. You could just learn how to buy it, and then you're an owner. And I'm like, this is my cup of tea, you know. So I just love that part about it.
And so what was your, when did you actually first purchase
It
crypto?
was around like
What's going on
between the
here?
years
Why are we
of
going
like
round in circles?
2015 to, because there's a forum that I ended up landing upon. And on this particular forum, people were just offering coins, and then there were
At Hovu
trading possibilities.
4773
And
tipped
so
50,000
once I
through
got
Super Chat.
onto that
Sensei will be a
particular
speaker
forum,
up
I
next.
was
Not
able to
being a
go
listener
back and
anymore.
forth, like
Smiley face
changing
emoji.
coins.
Smiley face emoji.
And at that time, you
I
know, there
can't
wasn't a lot of
believe this.
information. We didn't have a lot of
At
vocabulary.
Ninja_Cowboy has
And
become a
I
member.
really liked
Where
the
are their audio
platform.
difficulties when
And
we
I
need
kind of
it?
felt like it was my theme for a
You know what
while.
I'm going to ask?
But the actual
Do you know what I'm going to ask?
emerging of
I'm going to ask
Coinbase
if she's been
really
paid to
just
be
changed
there.
my life, because they were the ones who introduced the coins that I was interested in and that I still have information on to this day.
I'm not
And
blaming
that
this on
is
her.
what?
I'm blaming this on whoever
XRP.
paid her to be
Diesel
there.
underscore
And
Ava
it's the
tipped
reason that we're here today.
$1.99
And
through Super
Coinbase
Chat. After
had these
today moved all
modules,
my
and the
XRP to
modules
Binky Bonk.
were informational, they were educational, they had a little entertainment to it, they had
I
rewards.
can't
And so
believe
once
this.
I stumbled upon
At
XRP
4,541 Brian
and
has
other
become a
coins,
member.
I felt
Martin
like
should
I
phone in.
had more than just what that other forum was offering me. I felt like I had something that had
Guys, this isn't on her.
value
This is on
to it in
Stuart and
a
whoever's
different and
allowed
unique
this to
way,
take
because
place on XRP
information was
Community Day.
backing it. And even though like the other forum was fun, when you're looking at something with possibilities for the future, you know, you want something that is a little bit more solid. Once I landed upon and I remember, like, I just literally remembered the module about XRP. I mean, it was a standout coin to me. And I'm like, hey, I get this. Now, I'm thinking too, maybe just thinking back, it could be because my mom was in banking my entire life. And that could be where I just got it. You know, it just clicked for me. But XRP set a standard for me. It whet my appetite for more out of crypto. I fell in love with the tech. I fell in love with the infrastructure plans. I fell in love with just the
I bet she doesn't even know
possibilities.
what
And
XRP is all
it was
about.
explained in layman's terms on Coinbase. And so, you know, you just have those things in life that just land. And XRP was that. It just landed for me. And from there, I just began to research and began to look at white papers and began to look more into, but it definitely piqued my interest beyond that portal. And that's why I say education is so important.
Yeah, and obviously, as I said earlier, the NCA, we're very focused on education, and the NCA is protocol neutral, we're token neutral, but we like to tell the stories. And your story happens to be an XRP story, which fits really nice for XRP Community Day. And I think you touched upon this a little bit in terms
This
of
doesn't fit well with
so,
XRP Community Day.
2009, 2015, that's a lot, that's a lot of years to pass, where you're educating yourself, you're thinking
Right.
about it,
Yes.
you're being thoughtful, you're not being reckless.
Right.
But there's something about the XRP protocol that kind of jumped off the page and captured you. Maybe just talk a little bit more about that. What was
Yes.
it
Oh
about
god,
Yes.
here's where we find out. Does
XRP,
she
and
know anything about
how was
XRP
it
or not?
different from some of the other tokens and coins that you were looking at or considering?
Yes. So XRP, it had a level of transparency to it that I mean, it was just so tasty. You know, I'm like, hey, this is well explained. It seemed professional, you know, coming from corporate America, you know, you want things that
Did
kind
you
of like
say
cross
XRP
the
looks
T's and
tasty?
dot the
Guys,
I's.
did
And
she
so
say
I just
tasty?
kind
Let
of
me know in the
felt
chat.
like
She said
XRP was
XRP
that for
looks
me. And
tasty.
I remember
Is
even
XRP
just
tasty? Yes or no?
staring, you know, staring at this, like there's something to this. And I love the tech, and I felt like it was like a merger between traditional assets and digital assets. And so it just kind of felt like the tech was foundational. And it wasn't just that it was a coin or we were just trying to make money with something. Um, I felt it was solution oriented. And there was power in that, because as a person, just as my personality. I'm very solution oriented. I love emerging tech. I love being able to make things easier. And so I could just see the long term scope, the potential of it, the possibilities of it. And I feel like the education and looking
Oh, she did say
into it
tasty.
and looking at the people behind it and the structure, the blueprint, it just really made sense. And so that's important. It's important because when you don't have the vocabulary and someone gives you the vocabulary, I mean, you feel empowered. You're like, hey, I've got something here. And that's really how I felt. I felt it was also inclusive. I felt it was global, and there were just, viable partnerships, and the framework was solid. It just made sense.
As I think about
The framework
XRP,
was
right?
solid. It made
XRP
sense. That's the
has
reason.
sort of an institutional use case, enterprises. It's used for financial institutions, banks, payment providers,
Yes, yes.
large enterprises for treasury management, for cash flow, all of those things. But there's also a large retail base like you, everyday
Mhm.
Americans and others all over the world that own and use XRP. Tell me a little bit, Chrissy, give me an anecdote or two about how XRP has possibly your personal life.
Oh my God,
At
XRP
Hovo
has been so valuable
4773 tip
in my personal
20,000
life.
through Super Chat. Martyn
My
should
third
get an
child
emergency
was
call
born
now.
with a diagnosed disability, and so of course I had been building my career pretty tenaciously over the years, and so once I had her, she had that disability, and it was just a true financial hit to my family, as well as I had to cut back on my business. I had to cut down different jobs that I was doing contract wise. And crypto has been a lifeline. I mean, that particular crypto as well has also given me just, I would say, it's been like a little piggy bank for me. So it's something that I definitely kept on the side, and I have my short term and long term plans. And basically, there was just 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 to be frank with you, I would say, um, there was a day that I needed some funds to go get groceries. And because XRP was fast, because I had been using Bitcoin and I love Bitcoin, but and I love all the cryptos, but XRP was just quick to me. And I had a portal that I could log into and execute a trade. And I was sitting in front of the grocery store. I remember checking my bank account and I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, these things have come through. Hubs is at work. I need access to some funds quickly. So he had the credit card and I'm like, okay, I've got to get access to something. So I was able to execute a trade just sitting there in the parking lot. I was able to utilize my crypto to yield funds right to my debit card. So I went in and bought groceries and it fed my family. My daughter, my youngest, with her diagnosed disability, she has not qualified for insurance. So we've had to have a really decent, I would say, well spread out portfolio that we're managing for her, so that she'll have something. And crypto, XRP ETF, other assets, crypto assets are a part of that. Traditional and digital, stocks, all of that. So we have been thankfully blessed, but I promise you, I have been so grateful for XRP. It is deeply dear to my heart, and that's why I just feel so honored to speak today to the XRP community.
Well, I love because when we hear a lot about crypto serving the underbanked or crypto, especially XRP, being fast, it's being liquid, it's being transparent, instantaneous, and these things you hear them. They are, you hear them, they're talking points. But when you hear these stories, you're like, it's actually happening in real life. And you don't need to be a large enterprise. You don't need to be engaging in a big cross-border transaction between one bank to another payment provider. Here we have an XRP holder, a caretaker, a mom sitting in a parking lot trying to access funds to buy groceries, and XRP becomes an instantaneous tool.
Okay, next
to
we've
make
actually
that
got
happen. It's just
Evernorth,
such
which
an
is probably
incredibly
one of the
powerful
biggest
story.
stories for XRP, and then we've got
So
Monica.
thank you
So
for
we're
sharing
ending with a
that,
good note, I
David.
think.
So a lot of the folks who are listening here on XRP Community Day, I assume these are not the crypto curious, these are not the crypto cautious, although there may be a few amongst them. These are the folks who kind of understand the narrative, and they have not only bought into the vision, but they are part of this new technological movement and innovation known as crypto. But to the extent we do have some listeners that are crypto curious or even crypto cautious, what would you want those people to take away from both your experience and the discussion that we've been having today?
Oh, wow. So I would just love for, I would say to the newcomers, education is important. It is critical. It gives you the grounding that you need for this crypto space. Crypto has so many possibilities. Of course, nothing is guaranteed, but possibilities are available, and it will help you just to, when you're making educated decisions
At Hovo
and you're,
4773 tip
making a decision based
20,000
off
through
of
Super Chat.
critical thinking.
24
If
hours
you
in
allow
XRP's
yourself to
chart
be
today,
open
so
and think
manipulated
critically, you
situation.
can make that decision that's going to rarely be something you
Guys, I want to make something super clear. Thanks for the super chat, by the way. Please, if there is any misogyny in the chat, just stop it. We've got some very amazing women investors part of this community. We've always said women investors are actually better than male investors because they can control their emotions better when it comes to investing. They are safer when they come to investing, and they normally come out better because they buy, hold long term. So please don't make this about women versus men. We're talking about the situation here where Stuart and Ripple have allowed this sort of promotion occur. We don't have anything against this person. What we're saying is this is just not the time and the place for it. So guys, be careful in the chat. Our mods will be on top of it. We've got some amazing women investors as part of this community. Yolanda, Angie. We've got KC. We've got some real big investors, some real knowledgeable investors. And as I've said, women investors actually tend to do better than male investors. So let's just be careful in the chat. We don't want to take this the wrong way.
We want to make sure that, we're reminding ourselves of our reasons, our why, why we're doing this, and just to take courage, take heart. You're not in this alone. You're brave, just to even want to get involved. And to the XRP community, I salute you. You are valiant. You are overcomers. You are phenomenal people who are just able to make it this far with your stick-to-itiveness. And I appreciate you just for being there for me during the times when things were shaky. It was the XRP community that
No, guys,
reminded
I
me
understand. I mean,
of
I'm
why I
I'm
was
not,
so
I'm not. The reason I said I don't like this is because I knew the tangent she's going to go on because she's probably paid to be there. I'm not a fan of what's going on right now. I'm not a fan of her story. I'm not a fan of the way she's presenting her story. I don't really enjoy it, to be honest. But what I'm saying is, don't make that argument against women. We've got Kimberly in the chat. We've got many women, so just be careful. It might be perceived wrong. I know a lot of people are having laughs and jokes, and we can all have laughs and jokes. That's fine. But yeah, we've got some great women investors in the chat, in the community out there.
When
So
things are going
think
on in
about
the
what you say. It
world
might
or in
upset
your
people.
personal world, when you have gratitude on deck, you will win somehow, some way, every time. So you have the power to overcome. crypto is a wonderful way to prepare yourself for the future, prepare yourself even for exchanging, like I teach my children about exchanging coins and things that they will
Someone
possibly
said I
do
was
in the
doubting her
future if we're
earlier.
not
The
using
reason I was doubting
USD.
her is because I
Just
knew
to
this was going to happen.
understand when they get old
This
enough
is not
and
against
they're
women.
able to
It's
use
against her,
crypto,
Stuart, and
that,
whatever this thing is
this
going
is
on
a
right now.
viable asset for them. So I just want people to understand the importance of
Someone's like, I'll turn it down.
education. So educate, educate, educate. Raise your mind above the noise and know that you were born for times like these, and you shall get through to the
I do
other
agree. Yeah,
side
I agree.
well and good. So just stay encouraged.
Frederick 3 tipped $2 through super chat.
Oh, thank you,
So
Chrissy.
cringe.
Thank you
This
for sharing your story.
This person
Thank you for
doesn't
sharing
represent the
your
women of this community. You saw
inspiration
Yolanda come out
and
earlier and say she's talking about a
your
cupcake.
shout
This
out
person
and
doesn't represent the women of this community.
sharing your affinity to the XRP community. Education for those if you're getting challenged, for those listening by friends and family about what is this crypto all about, send them to nca.org. And before we close, I'm excited to announce the third swag drop. Our Ripple X account just shared the link in the
Guys,
comment
we've got the
section to
third
enter
merch
to
drop.
win
I'm
one
going to
of
send it
those.
to you
If they
on
run out,
Substack.
there's still one more coming up in the 8-pack session. And stick around to tune into the next session, which is the America's Innovation Spotlight. Thank you, Chrissy, and thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you, Stu.
Yeah, thanks to Chrissy, and great to hear from National Cryptocurrency Association. We'll start in a minute. We have some amazing guests here for the next session, and definitely keep all your eyes on the Ripple X dev replies when they drop the next swag. Let's see if we have everybody here on board. Solomon?
Let's do a mic check, I guess. How's it going? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Can you hear you good? Ashish?
I'm here. How's it going?
Doing fantastic. And Robinson?
GM, happy to be back on another XRP Ripple space.
That's when someone is a true Web3 native, when they say GM. I think we're waiting for Brad from Gemini.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I think you need to wait no longer.
Oh, now I can hear you. Yes, perfect.
Great.
Now we have everybody on board, and mic check is also complete. Well, Solomon.
Yeah, welcome everybody to XRP Community Day. For those just tuning in, super excited for this XRP Innovation Spotlight. I am Ryan Solomon, founder and CEO of Genfinity. Today's Community First session will highlight how XRP utility is expanding across real financial infrastructure and live production environments. Today, we're going to hear from leading organizations and projects that are actively deploying and enabling XRP across institutional finance, exchanges, DeFi, and multi-chain infrastructure.
Yeah, and we will definitely start with a few introductions here. I want to start with Ashish, who is representing Evernorth. And Evernorth is building one of the largest regulated XRP treasury vehicles, go by the ticker XRPN, backed by institutional capital with strategic ties to Ripple. It's publicly listed, as mentioned, NASDAQ. Their intention is to provide regulated access to XRP exposure, specifically XRP DeFi yield opportunities, grow the XRP ecosystem, and really dive into that. Evernorth wants to accelerate XRP DeFi by bringing institutional DeFi to the XRPL ecosystem at scale. Something that we have been talking about in the previous session, the one before with the folks from Ripple X, about all the upcoming features. This is where it all ties also together. And then we have Gemini, and maybe you want to take that, Solomon?
Yep, Gemini is a trusted, most people here, I'm sure everybody knows Gemini. They are a trusted crypto platform building out secure financial infrastructure for the the next generation of money and markets on a global scale. They've been actively working with Ripple on XRP and RLUSD integrations, including recent announcements around payments, card programs, and settlement infrastructure. I think I have Wormhole as well. All right, Wormhole is the leading interoperability platform connecting traditional finance and the internet economy, having facilitated over $70 billion in value transfer across more than 40 blockchains. They've been working closely with Ripple to support interoperability for both XRP and RealUSD, enabling these assets to move across chains and reach new liquidity and application environments. So super excited today to hear exclusive insights into what is live with Wormhole, how XRP and RLUSD adoption are expanding through Wormhole, and why this matters for real XRP utility. Vet, I will kick off with Evernorth here, I guess, and Ashish. For those newer to Evernorth, why is institutional treasury strategy around XRP such a big focus for you, and what excites you most about this opportunity?
Well, I just want to start. Maybe I should have had a Chronicles of Narnia quote like Chrissy did in the last session, but
You missed that opportunity.
I missed that opportunity. I couldn't think of one fast enough. But I'm Ashish Burla. I was with Ripple from 2013 for about a decade. I launched Evernorth. And I'll tell you like why I'm excited about this crossroads we're in with crypto and XRP. For a lot of years, we've been building product in crypto, and in the last year, we've seen regulation come to fruition. So with the Genius Act, with stablecoins, and now hopefully soon here with the market structure bill as well. But what's been lacking until very recently is institutional capital coming on chain. And I think that is really exciting for me. And so that's part of the mission for Evernorth is now let's bring that institutional capital and retail capital, and let's now bring that on chain. And let's now build out that institutional DeFi ecosystem on top of XRP while bringing that capital on chain. And that really excites me. It's, I've been waiting for this moment for almost a decade, and it's here. And I think those three things, again, regulation, product, and institutional capital, need to happen together in unison to make this scale. And I think we're at that right intersection today. So that's why I'm excited. And that's really a big part of why I launched Evernorth.
I'm even more excited about that. Maybe we have a race on this, but
guys, I'm going to give it to you now. I gave it to premium members first. If you want free XRP merch directly from Ripple, I'm giving you the link in the chat.
You were talking really beautifully about the XRP Ledger DEX and DeFi and how it all ties together. I want to know from you specifically, why is the XRP Ledger DEX or the XRP Ledger as a protocol so well suited for institutional capital and liquidity as compared maybe to other venues?
No one's ever said anything I said was beautiful, so thank you. That and also shout out to Tony, my boy, one of the biggest XRP community supporters out there. Thank you, Tony. The DEX is magic, I'll tell you, and that was one of the first things that drew me to the XRP ecosystem. And you got to think back to 2012. The creators of XRP had the vision to create a technology that was built for payments and built for financial use cases. That means it's native. That means it's fast. It's performant. And the history of products out there in the tech industry and non-tech industry will show you that specialized products that have mass appeal tend to scale and tend to win out. And having that XRP DEX built in is a huge advantage for the XRP ecosystem. Because what are we learning, right? Like the more tokenization you have, the more stable coins you have.
This is from Ripple.
What do all those things need to make them performant and useful in the real world? They need liquidity. They need to be able to be interchanged. And that's what the DEX built in can potentially do for all these tokenized assets. So I'm excited about it. I think it's a key feature. It's almost like magic that's built in to the XRP technology, and that's why I'm super excited about it. A huge differentiator, and now building that liquidity around that DEX and all the different kinds of tokenized assets in a compliant way is super exciting to me.
On this, if I can, expand a little bit also on that, Ashish, what are some of the things that fit exactly? Because it feels like really an awesome match when you look at what institutions are looking for in the XRPL. Maybe from your point of view, and you've been in the industry for so long and have been like building these institutional products. What are some of the things that institutions really, really want and that they care about that makes the XRPL so fitting for them?
Well, I'll tell you, like, one thing that institutions really want is they want 24/7 liquidity. Now, if you try to do FX trades today, they have cutoff times. Markets are open and closed. Equities, for example, today you got closing hours, and if anything happens after hours, you got to find all sorts of derivatives to trade that are open 24/7. But today we live in a global world. And folks want access to these products no matter what time zone they're in, because business is 24/7 these days as well. And so 24/7 liquidity on a performant exchange is super important. And again, like on-chain DEXs, I think really help to provide that 24/7 liquidity for all kinds of assets. It could be equities, but it could also just be regular FX trades. FX is foreign exchange. What you need for cross-border payments, for example, is you need FX exchange. So I'm excited about not only
Guys, if I got you
RLUSD,
a
US
free
dollar stable
jumper,
coins, but
send a super
all
chat
sorts of
in.
other stable coins around the world. Like, I was just in Korea. There's some legislation around there for getting KRW, the local currency, also as a stable coin. I think that's exciting because, again, you can now start trading these different currencies 24/7 using DEX-based liquidity pools.
I'll touch or shout out to Tony as well. I know during his first interview with Brad, he asked essentially, are we going to have Web3 companies 20 years from now, or is it just going to essentially be incorporated into the system, which I thought was super smart. And the last guest talking about education, it's so critical. And on that topic, Ashish, you've touched base before on how native on-chain or on-ledger credit and lending can change how institutions think about holding XRP through kind of the educational broad lens here. For those who may not be familiar, can you briefly explain that concept and how it could fit into an institutional treasury or balance sheet strategy over time?
Yeah, well, like when I say on chain, I mean tokenized on chain, and there's an active market on chain as well. So a lot of people, when they say, "Okay, I'm going to move something on chain," it's almost just like they're using a database. They're moving it on chain, but you can't really do anything interesting with it. When I'm talking about on chain, I mean that there is a liquidity pool around it, meaning that you can trade it. If you're talking about lending, that means there's borrowers
Guys, I'm telling
and
you, it's
lenders brought
free. It's in the
together
chat.
to
There's a
create an
link, and then there's a
on-chain
discount
lending
code.
marketplace. Why I think this is really interesting is because I think that in the future, you're going to have wallets or anything from PayPal to Robinhood that are the front ends, and then you're going to have the back ends. And the back ends are going to be like, if you think about deposits of a bank, you think of that as stable coins. But if you think about lending, why not give those front ends, those wallets, the ability to tap into a back end like like a lending market? So XLS 66. I'm really excited about it. We had a blog post about it at Evernorth, but the opportunity to participate in a compliant institutional grade lending market is really interesting to us. Why is it interesting to Evernorth? Well, one of the things that we want to do is build yield for our treasury, our XRP treasury, and we can do it on chain even better. I mean, how great that we can actually get yield, but then also foster a more vibrant XRP DeFi ecosystem that is institutional grade. I think that's a win-win. In lending markets, I mean, you talk about stable coins as number one. I would say like the lending markets and bringing that on chain is also super interesting in terms of a crypto native. But what you should be thinking about is this is like unbundling of all these different financial services on chain. Again, stablecoins being deposits, lending markets, credit, private credit markets, repo markets. That's an unbundling of a financial service, but brought on chain. And then the front ends, wallets, and so forth. They can start picking and choosing these different, on-chain primitives and build new user experiences with them as well. I would say the second point that I'm really excited about is that so much of this is manual today. If you look at a corporate finance system, a lot of this is done manually. You're calling someone up to trade FX for your treasury. You're calling people for quotes on different lending markets. How great would it be if it were automated and turnkey? And you can do that when you bring these kinds of markets on chain. They're programmatic. The liquidity is going to be there. It's a all or nothing sort of like it completes or it doesn't. And so those are also super great benefits as well.
So Ashish, you mentioned the blog post that you did by Evernorth, which also was really great. I like the graphics on the lending protocol and some of the plans that you were laying out there. Specifically at the end, there was like a call to action for people, developers, validators to come, test, help shape the amendment. And going along with this, what are some of, like, as these features come closer to reality as well, what are some immediate next steps that you are most excited about or that you want to tackle with Evernorth?
Yeah, so our priority is to continue to raise capital and expand the treasury, of course. But hey, I'm a product guy. I was a product guy at Ripple. I really want to see us build more of these yield kinds of products that we need for the treasury, but I want to see those built on chain. I want to see them built on XRP. And then, natively, I think is a big advantage, right? Like I don't have to worry about smart contract risk. And that is what I talk about institutional grade. So I think a lot of where the XRP team is headed with some of these protocols on XRP directly and natively is really interesting to me. So hey, I want to go out there and advocate for bringing new kinds of products.
Yes or no in the
like,
chat? Did you guys
DeFi
win?
vaults that I'm sure
Has your
someone will
day
talk
been turned
about
around? Yes
in
or
one
no
of
in the
these
chat?
sessions on chain. Let's make that even easier, right? Let's make those products even easier. I think that's one thing that's held the industry back, is that it's just too complicated for any normal user to use. But let's make it easier for institutions to participate in that.
Firstly, of course, I had to give it to the Substack members. Then I gave it to you guys straight in the chat, and you had plenty of time to take advantage. I have not even listened to Anish. My day's been turned around. Free merch. Who doesn't love it? Yes or no in the chat? Did you guys win? Yes, yes or no? Yes, yes, yes. Let's put this on. It's been good. I'm happy I've got free merch. I've lost thousands of pounds, but free merch. Here we go. Did you guys win? Yes or no in the chat? 3 times, says Alex XRP Pro. Yes or no? Oh, that was, I wanted to get it. Yes, says Stage Alive. Yolanda said yes. Yolanda got it in Substack. Love it. 2 emails, 2 free. I got mine, I think so. Yes, 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 yes. Everyone's won today. Everyone's a winner. Everyone's a winner. Look at that. We're all smiling now. Everyone's saying yes. I've just given away hundreds of pounds. Oh, I feel great. I feel like I've given away merch. Well, I kind of did, because you guys wouldn't have got it unless it was for me. So it feels like I've given them away. It wasn't me, it was Ripple. Thank Ripple, but thank me because I told you. Everyone said yes, I can't believe it. Everyone is a winner. That's literally about, like, I've just put Ripple out of a lot of money.
Get ready for verse 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Sold out now, yes, it's sold out now, yeah. Yeah. Oh, £100 to buy my sweater. Craig, it's free. We gave you the code. Yes. Guys, say yes again. I want to say yes again if you want. If you've already said yes, say it again. We're celebrating. If you got your free merch, say yes. Is there more later? Guys, if you did miss out, there is one more chance later today, apparently. One more chance later today. If anyone gets the one which Brad Garlinghouse signed, you should send it to me and I'll do it as a giveaway. Yes, 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 yes. Again. You're all winners! Hundreds, thousands of pounds just given away. So, if you've saved on... Yes, 3 times. Guys, if you want to give back, I'm not saying it, you've just made a lot of money today. Some of you bought 3. What you can do is sign up to a newsletter, 50% off today only, 50% off. There is a free plan. If you appreciate that, give back, join the newsletter. It's essentially 50% off. You're basically getting it for free. So, especially if you've got a couple of those free ones, go grab the newsletter, 50% off. There is a free plan as well. Make sure you are hitting the like button, subscribing. What's just happened? We've just given away about 120 jumpers on the show. I'm so happy. Everyone was upset. Everyone was not happy with how the day's going. I'm happy I managed to put a smile on many of your faces. So many yeses in the chat. When Sensei's 50% code is more expensive than the XRPs. What do you mean, Hoang? I don't know what you mean. Yeah, I'm happy I could put a smile on a lot of people's faces today. I know a lot of people were down because of the XRP community today, the way that they went about it. Again, I'm going to give you my thoughts at the end. But I'm happy I could put a smile on a lot of people's faces. So let's go back to the event. Let me go back here. Let's go back to what we were doing before we got excited. Let's listen in. I think it's Evernorth right now with their XRP treasury.
Markets that you operate in?
Sure. We obviously Gemini operates a handful of markets, a spot, crypto market, perpetuals market, and a recently launched predictions market. And so we've been working with the Ripple Prime team on 2 fronts. And so one of those is we've been engaged with the Ripple Prime team to integrate into the Gemini markets on the native crypto side, which is both the spot and perpetuals. That allows them to offer access to our liquidity for all of their Prime clients for whom they ultimately do all sorts of execution, connectivity, and financing for. And more recently, we've been engaged in discussions about our recent launch of Gemini prediction markets, which we just launched in December. And the overlay between the crypto native folks on the Ripple Prime side showing a keen interest in accessing obviously this quickly growing market is really sort of dovetails into the fact that we have here at Gemini a number of crypto native users, and so we've seen a tremendous amount of success, not just in the sports and political predictions, but really on the short, near, long-term duration crypto contracts. And so there is, I think there's probably a high degree of overlap in terms of the folks that are, interested in XRP, interested in crypto, and interested in prediction markets. And we have been having, a lot of early stage discussions as the Ripple Prime team, continues to determine what the right path or paths for them as they engage in this marketplace for their clients. I think, Brad, we have a couple of minutes here with you still. So I kind of want to ask the low-hanging fruit. What are you excited about? Forward-looking statements type question here within, relationships with Ripple or, XRP Community Day or even the broader space. And certainly thank you so much for joining today. Yeah, again, thanks for having me. I maybe to one thing I didn't really sort of touch on, but worth explaining or exploring is the fact that we've also been integrated RLUSD as one of the stable coins on our spot books as well. And so we ultimately do kind of a unified dollar on the back end, and we were keen to work with and partner with Ripple to get RLUSD and support the growth of, again, a well-regulated, well thought through, and well appreciated stablecoin. And so that dovetails into what I'm kind of excited about, although it pivots a little bit into the thing that I spoke about last. But obviously, we launched a prediction market in December of last year, and it is, I think, top of mind for a lot of people, and certainly a lot of people in the space are sort of comparing it to what crypto looked like in 2013, 14, 15 or so. And I certainly think there are some parallels in terms of just starting to scratch the surface. But going back to that broader point, I think one of the things that we're super interested about is really leaning into the crypto community, the XRP community, and in general around the crossover between prediction markets and contracts on crypto assets. And so we've certainly, again, seen a high degree of interest in some of the, it's hard to say, more traditional contracts in the prediction space, given how relatively nascent it is. But the opportunity for our clients to come onto Gemini, fund with crypto, and be able to deploy that either in stablecoin or crypto, and actually use that collateral for spot trading or perps trading or prediction market trading is, I think, a pretty unique and interesting value prop. And again, just being part of early markets here feels very much like the early days of crypto, and I am very keen to sort of see how we continue to innovate in the crypto native space while also doing the same in the prediction market space. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Brad. And in that kind of vein, I hear a lot about kind of meeting users where they're at, and I'll move over to Robinson here from Wormhole. And I guess to reiterate briefly, Wormhole, the leading interoperability platform connecting TradFi and the internet economy, over $70 billion in value transfer across more than 40 blockchains, obviously gigantic. Robinson, from your perspective, what role does interoperability, kind of the multi-chain access, play in making XRP and RLUSD more useful for real applications? In addition to what you can already do, hold, trade, things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know it's been a little bit since I did a mic check. So King Solomon, confirm you can still hear me all right.
Yes, sir. You are loud and clear.
Great. Yeah, maybe what we could do is just take a little bit of a step back, because I feel like the word interoperability is like a lot of times one of those words that people kind of like almost fully get, but maybe there's a little bit of confusion. I think what we do at Wormhole and solving this issue of interoperability is really nothing new as it pertains to other industries. So what do I mean by that? in almost like every large industry, we see some type of interoperability, right? The idea that like two different systems can work together, right? They don't inherently communicate in the same way, but they can work together. A good example is actually the banking system, right? Like you have all these different banks with different databases, different ways, different processes, et cetera. But you need a way to wire money or send money between them, right? So that is in essence interoperability. We see this with transportation systems in our daily lives, in whatever city we're in. They kind of all have to work together: the bus, the metro, et cetera, or healthcare system with your data, right? So interoperability is all around us. And when we started Wormhole, I guess almost 5 years ago now, the idea that there would be multiple blockchains was actually not the status quo. There was a big school of thought that everything would be on one blockchain, right? Whether it was XRPL, whether it was Ethereum. And I think it's kind of safe to say that now we live very much so in a multi-chain world. Of course, on this call today, we believe, and are seeing a lot of that activity go to XRPL, but there will be other blockchains. And we want assets and information, et cetera, to flow seamlessly between them all. And so that's really what Wormhole is doing. Wormhole is a secure and decentralized way to send information between XRPL and Ethereum and Solana and insert whatever blockchain you want, right? And I think when we go back to, I guess, King Solomon, your question originally about like, how does this help XRPL? How does this help RLUSD? I think maybe focusing on the asset for a second, RLUSD, I think, has a very good opportunity at challenging the incumbents, right? Incumbents being maybe a USDT, a USDC. I think that the resources, the backing, et cetera, are there to challenge it. However, it has been kind of within a silo of Ethereum and XRPL and the side chain, and that's great. But we want to get it to we want to increase the addressable market, right? You want to, with an asset, your goal is to get it in as many hands as possible. So whether that's institutional or maybe off chain or ways to for payments like via employment platforms, et cetera. But you also want it to be integrated with as many blockchains as possible, right? Each blockchain has its own applications, it has its own users. It has all of these things that increase the demand for the asset. So by going to these chains, you grow RLUSD. And I think maybe a good example,
guys, if you go to merch, vote in the poll, please.
Drive the point home. We recently, you can think of Wormhole sometimes as a multi-chain asset issuer. We recently issued an asset on another chain. It was on Solana actually, and it grew the wallet holder base on that chain in like 48 hours by like 10,000 new holders, right? So that's an example of like all of a sudden now RLUSD is being held by so many different investors or users, et cetera, and can be integrated in so many different assets. And so that's really the role we play with RLUSD. Obviously, to your point, King Solomon, we're working with XRPL as well. So we want to export RLUSD, but when it comes to XRPL, you want to import as many assets as possible, as many users as possible to the XRPL.
Guys,
you want it to be connected to this broader ecosystem. And so we're able to do that as well by connecting, XRPL to the 40 plus blockchains we're connected to today. And I guess to finish my point is that helps bring things like, of course, more stable coins, but also institutional assets, right? Like BUIDL, BlackRock's tokenized fund, uses Wormhole to travel between chains, and connecting to XRPL, BUIDL can then travel to XRPL.
Yeah, I think it's huge. I love your points on interoperability. It's like we're not here in 2026 emailing each other from Yahoo to Gmail. Like you're talking about how amazing it is. We're just emailing.
Exactly.
But looking forward, what are you most excited about for Wormhole, for XRP, for RLUSD in a multi-chain context, and whether that be developers or institutions or ecosystem players? What should people be paying attention to in kind of the multi-chain context?
Yeah, maybe I'll speak very focus on the metrics or the specifics of RLUSD, because we've been working a lot with XRP and XRPL as well, but just as of the past month or two to kind of get the RLUSD launch to multi-chain launch in place, I've been focused on this one a lot in particular. And I said this a little bit before, but maybe I'll bring this up again. But I do believe RLUSD has a shot to, again, to challenge these incumbents, right? You know, USDC, USDT, they've got kind of the early mover advantage on their side, and there is definitely a network effects aspect when it comes to stable coins. You're able to get more integrations in the hands of more users, and that begets more liquidity, etc. However, I do think RLUSD, as it's able to move to these other chains natively and be integrated with the apps on other chains, we will start to see a lot more growth. Right. I think we saw a couple months ago eclipse $1 billion. You know, I'm really watching that issuance number and watching the impact, you know, RLUSD going multi-chain will have, right? Because there's a lot of different applications on, you know, think of all these other chains, Avalanche, Solana, et cetera. And, you know, thinking about Solana, maybe I don't want to get too into the weeds right now, but you know, I don't know that they want USDC maybe as much.
That is on their end again.
Hey, King Solomon, can you still hear me?
Yeah,
We hear you. Yep. We hear
Okay,
you.
sorry about that. I we're good now. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is like RLUSD has a good opportunity to become maybe the main stablecoin on Solana. And then there can be kind of a somewhat of a new relationship with what is a competitor to XRPL. So I guess to speak specifically, King Solon, I'm very excited about RLUSD's opportunity for growth here, and have been focused on that a lot lately. And then maybe if you think about XRPL, right? XRPL has historically been, I think, as of maybe the past year, the access to other markets, access to other blockchains has started to open up. But it's been this, you know, really vibrant community of investors, of builders, that has maybe I shouldn't say it, but like has been kind of siloed a little bit, right? Like it's been siloed to XRPL. It's been siloed to it hasn't had the opportunity for like users from other chains or assets from other chains to come in. And so by making XRPL, like opening up that connectivity, I think we'll see a lot more asset inflow, and a lot more applications that want to build multi-chain and add XRPL as that like a multi-chain hub. So I've already been talking to a lot of teams in the XRP community, a lot of developers about this. We have some plans. So I'm excited to kind of open up XRPL, and that's coming very soon from our side.
That's awesome, Robinson. Because this is one of the things that people are typically are aware. It's not about going from one to another. It's bi-directional, right? So if there is a lot of demand for doing something, let's say on the XRP ledger, because let's say the lending protocol is out and there is like a very attractive rates for borrowing, that's of course very interesting for people to come here and do that.
Exactly. Sorry, go ahead, Matt.
Yeah. And so one thing I would love maybe to hear a little bit about, if you could mention, because for me personally, it was like one of the fascinating things that specifically you guys that were behind, is maybe you can, as a community contribution that you guys did, maybe you can just very high level, but not too technical, of course, touch on NTT, the native token transfer protocol that you guys developed for the ecosystem.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will try to not get too into the weeds here. But I did bring up a little bit about the history of multi-chain, right? It's only been about, you know, we could argue the specifics, but let's say roughly 5 years since we've had, you know, a lot of multiple chains with activity, and you know, there's been multiple chains with a lot of activity, et cetera. So you probably had 5 years of like real multi-chain type, you know, back and forth activity. And so with that came a demand to send assets or issue assets back and forth, right? So the thought experiment here is, if I want my asset on XRPL, but it's only on Ethereum today, right? I have ETH on Ethereum or something like that. How do I get it to XRPL? And I don't want to go through a centralized exchange. I don't want to KYC. I want to do it on chain. I want to do it in a centralized way. There wasn't really a way to do that 5 years ago. So what happened was we created, you know, what we would call like a token bridge. So maybe some folks on the call are familiar with the term bridge. You're able to bridge your asset from one chain to another. Without getting too technical, this was a good solution at the time. But what it did is it created multiple versions of the same asset. So if you think about it, like another thought experiment, think about looking at your banking app today, whatever your local currency is, let's say USD or euro, whatever, imagine having like 4 different types of the same asset, right? And they're not fungible with one another. They're almost like in different accounts. That was a lot of what crypto was in 2020, 2021, 2022. You'd have your wallet, you'd have 4 different types of stable coins, and they all would have maybe a prefix or suffix or to tell you what chain they came from. So what happened? So essentially, we solved the problem of how do you get your asset to another chain, and this is all bridge providers, by the way. But we also created another one, which was the term people will use is liquidity fragmentation. But essentially, it's that visualization I just gave you. You have multiple versions of the same asset. For a lot of reasons, this is a horrible experience. You get, there's downstream to how you build liquidity, how you just use the asset, et cetera. So what we've done over the past 2 years is we said, hey, how do we solve this externality of the original problem and create a system where you can issue assets across all chains natively, not in this kind of like locked, liquidity fragmentation way. And so we created what's called NTT, native token transfers, and that essentially just sits on top of the way a token is issued on any given chain. It interacts with it. So the long story short is you're able to keep one version, let's say XRP, we're all familiar with that, or RLUSD. This is what we're doing with RLUSD in particular. There's only ever going to be one version of RLUSD across every chain it's issued on. And the history, if you think back to what I just said,
guys,
if we didn't have the
a lot more
solution,
interesting, this talk.
and let's say RLUSD wanted to go issue on Avalanche or another chain, Arbitrum, there's a possibility, depending on how many issuers, there could be like 5 versions, and it wouldn't be nearly as successful, right? A DEX would be like, oh my gosh, I don't want to, which version do I use, RLUSD X or RLUSD Y? And then users would be like, which one do I hold, RLUSD Z or A? And you have all this fragmentation that doesn't make an asset successful.
I'm so
because
sorry.
of NTT and RLUSD now using NTT, we're able to solve that problem from the start to ensure the most success possible. Honestly, not even for RLUSD, but any asset. So we're super excited about it.
And this was also solve like all the accounting, because typically you have this accounting problem then where you have like, oh, now we have maybe more tokens in circulation than you should be able to back, right?
Yep, it's a burn and mint solution, so it burns and mints across all the chains. And I think the other thing too is at Wormhole, we really try to adhere to a lot of crypto ethos. So it's completely open source. So anyone can come pick this up. You don't even actually have to use Wormhole security in it, although we have it there as default because we think you will use it because we have been building the security model for 5+ years and think it's very good. But if you don't want to, you don't have to. So this is open source, a tool for anyone to use, no vendor lock-in. And yeah, I think it's something that the team's pretty proud of.
That's why I was asking, because that's specifically interesting as it's open source and it's basically a community contribution from you guys. So that's great, which you also use. Well, Solomon, I think we're good to go for the transition.
Yeah, definitely want to give reiterate a gigantic thank you to Ashish Burla from Evernorth. We had Brad Vopny from Gemini and Robinson from Wormhole, and super excited to see the continued innovation and adoption.
The question,
as we move forward, it's hard to believe that we're in 2026, but as we move forward into 2026 and beyond, Vet, if you want to walk us into the next part here, Vet, that'd be awesome.
Absolutely. So we did the America's XRP session here, and we transitioned down to the spotlight of community projects, and we will bring up now a few community projects we had to talk about what they're doing, how they're contributing to the ecosystem, and what they're up to, just to get some on the ground insights. And let me get a few up.
I guess as a sidebar, Vet, we have I think 4 projects coming up, right, Vet? So we're probably going to ask everybody to make sure they, around 4 or 5 minutes each, because I know at the top of the hour we'll be transitioning, but we definitely want to extract as much value out from everybody. And Vet, I'll let you kick the first one off and stop rambling here.
Yeah, I think we can immediately start with, I think Sloppy's behind the First Ledger account. Sloppy?
Yeah, what's
up?
How we doing, Vet? How we doing, Solomon?
What's up?
Nothing, just living. How's your day going, guys? It's been a pretty amazing session so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we were curious what are you guys up to in the ecosystem, what you guys are building on the XRP ledger. Maybe you can give us the latest and greatest.
Yeah, no, for those who don't know me, my name is Sloppy, or by my real name, Chris. I am one of the founders of First Ledger and also Joey Wallet. Now, what are we? We are a token launchpad decentralized exchange, as well as Joey Wallet is a full
Okay, finally, Monica
wallet.
Long will be
So
in
again, you can
15
store your
minutes. That's the
XRP
main
and
event of the
XRPL
whole
assets
day.
on there, and it makes your whole journey onto the XRPL as seamless as possible. It takes around 10 seconds to create a wallet. So now if we're going to go from First Ledger to Joey Wallet, what we're doing on First Ledger right now, we're kind of going through a total platform transformation to make it as intuitive and seamless as possible when it comes to new users and existing users on the XRPL. We want to make sure your journey from point A to point B is as seamless as possible. So allowing that to be, either mobile experience, desktop experience, you get all the data that you want to look for, as well as not having to think when it comes to purchasing assets on the XRPL. Now, when it comes to future initiatives, we're going to be rolling something out come in March, probably March 2nd. We made a tweet about it today, but it's going to hopefully incentivize more people to interact with liquidity pools in the AMM on the XRPL, seeing as it's like fairly new technology. For us,
I'm
roughly
not
like a year
selling
and a
a
half
signed
old,
mug. I
it
apologize.
only makes sense to kind of teach people how to use it. And I guess one of the best ways to teach people is to incentivize teaching too. So we're going to have some pretty cool programs going on around that. So just be on the lookout. We don't want to share too much on that front yet, but at least on Joey Wallet, we're almost a year old now, fairly new into the ecosystem, at least on that front. Roughly, I think we're a little bit over 15,000 downloads at this point. And the main goal was to allow users to have a similar experience when it comes to onboarding to the XRPL as you would experience on, like, let's say Ethereum or Solana. So wallet creation again takes roughly 10 seconds, full self-custodial wallet, audits and all that good stuff. And, it's a very intuitive experience when it comes to actually interacting with the chain. Now, again, what's coming with that? Well, we're exploring some different things on what XRP users can do with their money. Ripple tapping in with, Hyperliquid. That's kind of like a hint that we're trying to look into and maybe allow users to deploy funds over there once XRPL support does come, looking at EVM sidechain support and just trying to, bring as many users to the mainnet as possible and actually deploy funds on the XRPL rather than take them off chain. So long-winded response right there, but we got a lot on the roadmap and a lot of fun things coming.
Yeah, love to hear it. Love to hear it. This is the time to build, and you guys are definitely doing that. Definitely follow the account if you want to stay up to date with it. And I'm looking forward to increased activity and more coming to the XRPL. Going with this, there's actually a project I'm really interested here is T54. And I know from IO last year, we talked about agentic payments that really would be a great fit with the XRPL. And then I saw like the partnership with Ripple. And so I'm really curious to hear from you, T54, about your project. And why is it such a great fit with the XRPL?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the host. Thank you for having us, and thank you for Ripple and the XRPL ecosystem. So I'm Chandler, the co-founder of T54 Labs. So we are an AI fintech company. As you said, we are trying to solve the agentic payment problem, and we went through the XRPL accelerator in 2025. So what T54 is doing, we're building the trust infrastructure for agent economy. So as agents start moving real money, pay for data, settle the invoices, managing funds, someone need to answer a question about how can I trust my AI agents with my money, right? And what about my identity? How to solve the risk assessment? How to secure the payment rails for those autonomous agents
This is
are running
interesting,
everywhere?
this company.
So before I dive into detail, I'm glad that I'm right after a Ashish session, right after Evernorth. So we recently announced a strategic collaboration with Evernorth, the largest institutional XRP treasury. So to power their AI-driven autonomous treasury operations on XRPL. So we are bringing the verification, risk assessment, and the compliance to their AI-powered treasury management. Back to your question, like, what's the problem we are solving? So if you look at it right now, when an agent need to buy something like a data, a compute, a tool, there will be a paywall. What I mean by that is human need to log in, right? To pay for subscription, to use their credit card, to do some manual approval. That breaks the entire point of autonomy. And quick context about X402 as well, for people who ever seen that. X402 is an open payment protocol that takes HTTP old 402 payment required status and turn that code into an actual payment rails. And it's very, very powerful because when an agent hit a pay resource, the server can respond with the X402 request, and the agent see that price, pay that money, and then get access. So there's no need to have accounts, no API keys, no subscriptions, purely agent native. And what we are building right now is on XRPL with X402 facilitator. So the piece that connect the protocol to XRPL. So what it does is, so agent can pay per use with XRP or RUSD and settle on chain in seconds. For example, use a real life example here. So you may ask your agent someday, say, hey, could you help me pull NVIDIA's latest earning transcript, right? Read some two proprietary paid research report and then compare them. So if you're doing without agents, you need to tell Bloomberg and pay for subscription, download the things, and then you have to stop everything before sign up and finish the payments. But with our facilitator, the agents handles that autonomously. First, it hit a pay data source. They see a price, a few cents, a few dollars. They can pay with XRP or RUSD on XRPL. Then they get the results. Keep going. No subscription. Pay only when you use it. So why this is so important on XRPL and why we think this is uniquely positioned to make XRPL super competitive is agent payments are tiny and frequent. So most of the rail punish that because they are paying by a percentage fee, right? And there are some minimal charges. But for XRPL, it doesn't. It has a fraction of a cent, like 3 to 5 seconds settlement, continuous uptime. That make this few cents per request payment super viable at scale. And also we are utilizing our USD that make the transaction even faster. So what's next? We officially launching the XRPL X402 facilitator in coming weeks, open to developers building agents that need to pay, and API provider who want to pay per call pricing, anyone who want to use XRP to be the settlement layer for agent native payments, you can reach out to us. So with the closing notes here, so not every blockchain is built for payments. XRPL does. And not every blockchain is native for agents, and XRPL has the huge potential. So a lot of network optimize for the smart contract computation, so the value transfer on a secondary function. But XRPL is the opposite. They're designed from day one to move value. The fees are super low. The settlement speed is super fast. And especially after the SEC, everybody know that XRP has the clear regulatory standings that most crypto infrastructure doesn't.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's why I think we're deciding to commit on XRPL. And thank you for having us.
Thank you. Well, that's awesome. The settlement layer for agent to agent and agentic payments, XRPL. That's a good soundbite. I want to ask. Let's move on to Centauri here, and We'll try to get 4 or 5 minutes with each of you guys, but I'll stop rambling. Centaura would love to learn what you guys are building for institutional DeFi, how that ties in, and what you're looking forward to for the future of building on the building towards XRP and RLUSD utilization.
Great, guys. Thank you for the opportunity. Just really quickly, Centaura is the institutional DeFi layer specifically to the Ripple community. We are the DeFi integration partner for RLUSD. So we've been there since $1 of RLUSD to $1.5 billion. So appreciate all the community support getting there, and really excited about what the use cases for RLUSD and the size and where we're heading in 2026. A lot of exciting updates to come. Tangential to that, we have built a protocol called Firelight. It launched in December, and we are announcing for pre-lockup deposits of XRP to earn points at this point, and it'll be yield once the protocol goes fully live in Q2. I can announce that we're doing another cap raise on the week of June 23rd, so we're going to double the size of stakers. So from a high level, Firelight allows people with XRP to stake their XRP into the protocol and earn yield. We are targeting about 3 to 5% for XRP. And I think one of the things to describe is how are we generating this yield. So what Firelight is the next innovation of a insurance/cover protocol. The idea is that Firelight will allow XRP holders to stake their XRP, and that will allow Firelight to write DeFi insurance contracts against large protocols, pools, bridges, oracles at scale. Now, probably the first question I would get is, why would I post my super valuable XRP and let degens use it as an insurance contract? So the reality is the insurance product that XFI or that Firelight is building is very much to pivot and focus the future of DeFi. DeFi is going to grow in the next year or two around this meta bank, this meta around neobanks. You have PayPal, you have Ripple potentially through G Treasury, Revolut, Robinhood, all looking to move to this neobank model where we replace fiat deposits in cash and earning treasury yields to stablecoin deposits and earning DeFi yields. And I think the biggest blocker for this to unleash its scale is Web 2 people don't understand smart contract risk. Here at Centaura, we've been managing risk at scale, over 2 billion we manage currently. We've been managing this for 5 years and always returned our clients money. So we feel very comfortable pricing this risk. But the reality is the insurance that we will be selling is to tick the box for neobanks to get over the hump and really deploy at scale into DeFi. The protocols that we're insuring, think of Morpho, Aave, Euler, the assets that are in that stack, USDC, USDT, RLUSD, Athena assets, battle-tested assets with the proper risk models. And at the end of the day, do they really need this insurance? Probably not. But does it make a Web 2 firm more comfortable launching a product where they feel comfortable they're not going to lose their clients' funds? Now, on the other side, on the Ripple side, why would you do this, right? And I think this is probably a question I'd like to answer directly. If you stake right now, if you could, on this call, if you could stake XRP in Aave, would you do it? And I would think the large majority of people here would do it. If you could stake your XRP, post your XRP in Aave and earn 4%, would you do it? I think that group grows even larger. That's essentially what you're doing. Because you can't supply XRP into Aave and you can't earn 4% even if you could, this is the utility unlock for XRP. And the risk that you're taking is simply the same risk you'd take if you deployed into Euler, Aave, Morpho, but you can't. So that's the value attribution to both the buyers of insurance and the yield. And the scale of this is billions, right? The demand for this insurance is quite large. So this is an organic yield that's going to scale for the XRP community. Sorry to run over.
No, you're totally fine. I know we did an interview with Firelight over on Genfinity like a month ago or a couple weeks ago too, so people can go and check out and get a deeper dive. But thank you so much. No, I think it's super awesome. There's a huge opportunity, obviously, for XRP and RLUSD in kind of the DeFi flows. I want to move over to Arculus here in just the last couple of minutes. Security obviously is a one of the biggest, must-haves, probably the biggest must-have after compliance in this entire industry. Arculus, what are you guys building? And sorry to ask you to be a little bit brief on it.
Yeah,
But thank you.
no worries. I'll be super brief. I'm Tom Blow. I'm the head of product at Arculus. We actually make that beautiful Gemini XRP card. We make most of the metal cards in the world. We also have our own hardware wallet on a metal payment card form factor. Two things that I wanted to mention today in the time is that we recently came out with a beautiful XRP branded hardware wallet. Again, on a metal payment card form factor. You can see that at getarculus.com because we are big supporters of the XRP community. And the other thing that we do, again, because we're excited about RLUSD and the potential for real consumer payments, we've also built a point of sale integration and a point of sale device that allows you to tap to pay, take a card with Arculus software on it and your private keys on it, and essentially tap it to a point of sale terminal. So if you think about the way people are able to pay with digital assets in physical locations today, like I've been in crypto for a long time, and I think I paid with digital assets in a store like once, and that was because I sought it out. Now today there are some payment cards like MetaMask and Cast and these things that let you pay with digital assets over the traditional payment rails. We think that's fantastic, and we do a lot of that business. But we also think there's a place for doing direct on-chain payments. And most of those direct on-chain payments today happen via QR code, which is honestly kind of a crappy way to check out. I mean, take your phone out and take a picture of a thing is a bad checkout experience. So what we've done is essentially created a tap-to-pay checkout experience, direct on-chain for RLUSD and other digital assets. And if you want to see it, you can actually see it, a live demo of it at bit.ly/RLUSD tap. That's RLUSD TAP. Bit.ly link, and you can actually see what it looks like. It looks like a normal debit card transaction, but what you're actually doing is sending RLUSD directly over the XRPL blockchain. Takes about 2 or 3 seconds, and you don't have to take out your phone. You don't have to scan a QR code. You literally just take, in my case, I actually use my XRP card, tap to that point of sale terminal, enter your PIN, and your transaction goes through. All on the XRPL blockchain.
Awesome. Vet, you want to lead us out here? We want to definitely thank everybody that joined today, but Vet, you lead us out.
100%. It was an amazing session. Thanks everybody who joined for the one with Ashish, Brad, and Robinson. And we're going to lead here now with Monica is going to talk about how XRP matters to Ripple's business. And so stay tuned for this session. And yeah, thanks everybody.
Okay. Breaking news on Martyn Lucas Investor. We're going to have Monica Long closing out the America session here at XRP Community today. I'm going to give you my full thoughts after this. There's been a lot of disappointment about how this event was run, but I do want to give my thoughts, my charts, my experiences. So let's listen to Monica. This is live. We'll go straight to her, and then I'll give you all my thoughts. So here we go. Monica Long, president of
Hey everyone
Ripple.
out there, thanks for joining.
Yeah, I'm super excited to do this, and it's great to catch up right now. To start off, I know you have had an interesting journey and growth at Ripple. Can you kind of walk us through how you went from your initial role to now president?
Sure, I've had the ride of a lifetime. Very lucky person. So I joined Ripple in 2013, just about a year after its founding. And my introduction was through Chris Larson, co-founder and then CEO. He's now our executive chairman. And I had the privilege of working for Chris when he was CEO of Prosper prior to Ripple. So that was my introduction. He was like magnificently excited about the revolution underway with crypto and what Ripple was working on, and was very convincing with his vision. So I decided to jump feet first. It was a pretty nascent industry at the time. And so I started on the communications front, and then later grew a marketing team. Around 2020, we created a focused effort around funding and supporting developers in an ecosystem of partners building on XRP Ledger outside of Ripple. And so that's called Ripple X. I know you heard from some of my colleagues earlier. So yeah, we launched that in 2020. And now in my current role as president, I'm responsible for our core business, and which includes Ripple X, but then also payments and our custody product, as well as our stablecoin RLUSD.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of really great moving parts on that front. Monica, how do you think the industry has really evolved since you first got into the space?
Yeah, it's I mean, a lot has changed. There's been so much progress and maturation, and then some fundamentals have stayed the same, which is a good thing. So what's changed, I would say, is I mean, regulatory clarity pops to mind. A lot of developments on that front. 2025 being a really pivotal year with the Genius Act, and that kind of had had a domino effect just on institutional embrace of the technology. I would also say, I mean, on that note, institutions taking the technology very seriously as a core part of the future financial system, not looking at it as, a flash in the pan or a side project that belongs in the lab. So I think maturation, institutional adoption, those are kind of the themes that come to mind. And I would say what hasn't changed is the industry's unified vision of the future and our unified mission of enabling an internet of value. And we really think, blockchain can change the way money moves around the world.
Yeah, no, I love that, and I agree. It definitely can, and we're starting to see that happen, right? And I think with that in mind, what are kind of your key priorities for Ripple's business in 2026 then?
We are launching into 2026 after a banner year in 2025, and I just was mentioning I joined in 2013. I can say 2025 was best year ever, best year yet. So of course, those who followed along know we've acquired 4 companies, or we acquired 4 companies last year. We also expanded our kit of licenses to do payments and other virtual asset activities. So we're now licensed in more than 75 licenses around the world. And some of those are really significant for opening up new markets for our payments offering and other activity like that. So now looking at 2026, we're first and foremost focused on integrating our acquisitions and seeing those the deal theses play out and come to life. And we want to build on the growth and momentum we were having, especially in the back half of 2025, on customer acquisition and adoption and usage of our products. So like, for example, with payments, we in the second half of the year, we were seeing double-digit growth in payment volume month on month. So we're seeing this really nice hockey stick curve in payment volume growth. RLUSD, last year was really its first year being in the market, and we have now crossed $1.5 billion in market cap. It's firmly a top 5 stablecoin. And then on the custody front, in this, our flagship custody product is it was built for banks, and that's our main customer. And it was kind of a quiet first part of the year for digital asset custody and banks. And there's like this clear before and after snapshot of before Genius Act and after of how serious banks got about engaging with firms like Ripple. And so, we saw dozens of RFPs, requests for proposals coming from banks for custody solutions. So I can't I can't give you the names yet, but I can say you can expect more good news to come on bank adoption for Ripple.
Okay, so we can definitely expect more of this in
Wow.
2026 then.
Yeah, I can't wait to share it with
Okay,
you.
very, very exciting. Yeah, I know when all the M&A activity was happening in 2025, we wrote about it at Token Relations, but it's just super exciting. And I think, kind of going to the point of this conversation, it like goes back
I
to
wish
the
this
core of
person
Ripple's
had a bit more
business.
energy. Monica's
But on the front of
Monica's good, but
XRP and
this person's a bit.
XRPL, how do you think those two kind of play into Ripple's product strategy, both in the past, but now looking to the future?
Yeah, I mean, we're rewinding the tape back to the founding of the company. Like XRP and the ledger are our reason for being. The purpose of Ripple was to be building use cases, taking the technology and applying it to solving real world problems. So we call it our North Star, like that. This is kind of what guides us in a lot of our product strategy and decision making. Things that I'm excited about on our roadmap for this year. One is payments on DEX. And of course, payments already happen on the decentralized exchange. You all know that. But with our licensed product, so this payments offering that a lot of our customers are using for stablecoin cross-border payments.
If you're watching
we
later,
want to
hit the like
bring
button,
more of
subscribe.
that
There's some
flow
information I want to
directly
share with you about the whole
onto
day.
the decentralized exchange. And like an interesting trend we've been talking about at Ripple is just the proliferation of stablecoins. Even take just US dollar as the currency, there's all these different issuers now. And I think back to the early days, talking to David Schwartz and Arthur Brito, like their vision for the DEX on XRP Ledger was, in the future, so many different assets will be tokenized, money will be tokenized, and there's gonna be all these different issuers. And depending on the currency cross or the exchange, it's going to be a mess finding the liquidity. So XRP is built into the protocol as this bridge asset, and you can auto bridge really seamlessly through XRP. So we're bringing it back to the roots of how this protocol and the DEX were built. So I'm super excited about that one. Another one is payments credit. So to explain that one, we know that in the world of payments, so if you're a payment service provider, it's really common that you would have like overnight credit or short-term credit to be able to ensure the appropriate funding for that payment. That's super common, and you may, for those who maybe have been following us for a while, you may remember we had a line of credit offering back in the day. So our idea is to build on that customer need, the insight into that customer need for credit or financing for payments, and match it with holders of XRP who might be interested in putting that XRP to work and earning more yield using the lending protocol. So this would, I know lending protocol is still up for vote, but we're fingers crossed, really hopeful and gung-ho that will be enacted as an amendment. So that's another one to come. And then the last thing I'll mention is a lot of the banks we're working with. I mentioned we've been responding to a lot of their RFPs around custody. The banks are not just interested in custodying digital assets. They're really keen on pushing into tokenization, whether that's tokenizing deposits or different funds or even equities, bonds, et cetera. And so our custody product enables that through the product. And of course, XRP Ledger is, we believe, the best blockchain for institutions to be using. And so we see our custody customers putting more of those kind of mature assets onto XRPL.
Yeah, with the front of tokenization and payments and everything you've talked about so far, do you see those as like the key use cases taking off? Or are there other areas that you're kind of monitoring too?
Yeah, I would say the two kind of big bets that we have in our where the use cases that we think are real killer use cases for not just blockchain, but specifically XRP Ledger and XRP are payments and capital markets. So trying, kind of using the efficiency of blockchain and either stablecoin or tokenized funds or digital assets to make post-trade settlement in particular a lot smoother and more efficient. And also collateral management within the context of capital markets. And that's, I think you earlier were talking about Aviva. We also last year talked about a partnership with DBS and Franklin Templeton. And this is the flavor of more of what's to come between our Ripple X team and our Ripple Prime team.
Okay, for sure. I think also another thing I'm thinking of on this front, Monica, is like, what are the keys here to really unlock more of this activity on XRPL?
That's a great question. That's like the multi-trillion dollar question, right? So
multi-trillion.
I do believe regulatory clarity was an imperative, and I can really see that clearly in hindsight now, because we were so early to the market with payments on blockchain and institutional use cases on blockchain that we were making progress along the way, but I could see this like floodgate opening last year. Post Genius Act, of course, now clarity's on the table. But I think the clarity from the regulator really matters, because a lot of the institutions that we talk to, they get it. They get the need, they get the solution and how it fits. But they're not in the business of taking on that kind of technology risk unless it's clear what they're going to get from the regulator. I also think another aspect is interoperability. We're talking about, the proliferation of US dollar stable coins. Another aspect of that is many, many chains. And so like for the Internet of Value to be a real thing, these blockchains have to work seamlessly together. You have to be able to transfer assets across different chains and liquidity pools. And on the more kind of like tactical blocking and tackling front, there are certain features that institutions need. So when you look at XRPL, a lot of what had been already built in it's built for financial use cases. But there's things you've seen us developing in the past year, the lending protocol being one, but also permission domains, confidential transfers, credentials, like things like that are important to make the blockchain usable by institutions.
I mean, on the institutional front, what do you think is really missing that these institutions want to see on XRPL before they move over?
Yeah, and I think the features are one aspect. Of course, you can't really do a lot of you can't implement many financial use cases without the high quality assets being available and then liquidity. So that's like, our Ripple X team really focuses on partnerships that will bring high quality assets on and build liquidity, get that flywheel going. I also think the peer validation matters a lot, and it can be like, let's be honest, it can be some FOMO out there in the institutional realm. So I think seeing leaders go for it, like DBS or Aviva, or we have another partnership with MasterCard. I think that matters a lot. That kind of peer validation gets them to jump in.
I think another question I have, kind of transitioning maybe to the XRP side of things, given the conversations about XRP at the core of Ripple's business too, I want to weave this in, is like, how will XRP integrate into Ripple's new lines of business?
Yeah, and here you're referring to Ripple Prime, Ripple Treasury. Yeah, so it's just the beginning. We're really excited about the potential here. But with Ripple Treasury, this business serves more than 1,000 corporates who are managing trillions of dollars of capital. And like kind of the highest level, working with, plugging into our infrastructure can help these corporates unlock more idle capital, and also move money faster, more transparently, more reliably. In working with that team, they've been really quick to market with, they have some customers who have actually come to them asking about digital assets. This is like a great sign that serious corporate treasurers of large firms are inquiring about digital asset strategies within their treasury. So of course, the first asset to offer them is XRP. So we have some pilots already standing up around that. And with Ripple Prime, since we've signed that deal, they've already seen XRP deposits increase more than 100% in the past, I think last 2 quarters of 2025. They're also looking at expanding the collateralized lending market for XRP amongst their clients.
hmm Where do you kind of see Ripple a year from now, then, Monica? And where do you see the market a year from now? If you can kind of give us an outlook that far out. I know things can change, but would love to hear your perspective there.
Yeah, I do. I wish I had a crystal
Yep,
ball. Wouldn't that be lovely?
100%.
But we're jamming. We're in such a good place. I mean, I mentioned the growth curve we're seeing within payments, and also we made a couple other acquisitions last year that were more product led, like Rail and Palisade. So those have kind of filled in and expanded the capabilities we can offer those clients to collect, hold, swap, and pay out all through one interface with one provider. So I see Ripple a year from now. This is going to be I know I said 2025 was best year ever. This is going to be a better best year.
Yeah.
Because we already have the momentum coming into the year. We have the regulatory clarity. We have the growth going in the right direction. And getting those license approvals, which we just announced between like December and January in UK, Europe, and Singapore, these are now markets that are open for us to directly onboard customers, which we could not do last year. So I think it's going to be a really big year. The story for RLUSD will be, in a world of many and more stable coins, RLUSD will really stand out as, top shelf regulated, but also highly utilized within payments and capital markets. So we have that cooking with payments in our Ripple Prime business too. I think you asked about the market. So I know it's coming off a year of up and to the right. It's always tough to go through a dip. And I mean, we've been around 13 years. I've been at the company 12. Like, we've seen a lot of ups and downs, bears and bulls. The institutional appetite hasn't gone away, so I take that as a really great sign. We're still, we haven't slowed down in terms of banks who are engaging us, asset managers, and payment companies. So I think that despite what we might see showing up in the day-to-day volatility, that at the end of the year, there will be really, really meaningful adoption and progress on the use cases that we're focused on, at least payments and capital markets. And I think that XRPL by the end of this year will be like indisputably the institutional choice of blockchains.
Okay, I'm excited to see how everything pans out this year. Last thing, Monica,
You too.
if you had to define the moment in 2026 for Ripple and XRP in a few words, how would you describe it?
I would say institutional adoption at scale.
Institutional adoption at scale. Okay.
Yes.
I love it.
That's my. We'll revisit that December 31st to see how it played out.
Yeah, 100%. Amazing. Well, thank you, Monica, for taking the time. And thank you for joining me in this conversation for the last session of the day. And for everyone listening in, there is still more content to come. So please join the Apex session happening later today.
Okay, let me give you all
Amazing.
my
Thank you
thoughts.
so much, Jacqueline. Thanks everyone for joining.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, that's it from this event. So let me tell you my thoughts on it all. Let me just close that down. So disappointing. Let's just get the elephant in the room. It's been disappointing. Why has it been disappointing? For me, it's the presentation that's been the most disappointing. The fact that we didn't get to see these people on stage. The fact that they couldn't put a bit more into their marketing budget and just have people's faces being shown, have their communications being sorted, send these people some good microphones so we can actually hear them properly. Get even the CEO, Brad Garlinghouse, a man I respect. He came out and he switched from his phone to his laptop and said, "Give me a second." I mean, that was the opening act. That is disappointing. And as an XRP holder, as someone who's bullish on Ripple as a company, that wasn't great to see. I did the best I could. I put together a website for you guys, a full schedule, ticking with the countdown. You can go see it, martynlucas.com/XRP. I've put together this event. I've spent time doing the studio. I've spent more time than it seems like people that were calling into this event, Ripple themselves, have actually spent on that. So that was a big blow, they could have done something great. They've been selling all of this XRP on their balance sheet. I'm sure they had the money to just give a bit more respect to the XRP holders. Okay, that's out the way. Let's hope they sort that out. I mean, a major concern. Now let's go through the events one by one. Very quickly. Again, Vaz will be going live after this, so I'm going to be very quick. So let me show you this. This is something we put together in the newsletter. Remember, the newsletter is 50% off today only. So when you're watching this video, you can get it 50% off. You get access to the daily newsletter. You get access to the Portfolio Insights app. You get access to the chart analysis, which is coming out this month. You get access to the financial planning tools. You get access to the £5,000 portfolio challenge that has started, and you can see exactly all my research. You get access to the XRP Weekly, the only XRP weekly newsletter. You get access to the events cheat sheets. When we do these events, we'll give you the full cheat sheets from the newsletter. You get the 5 things you need to know every day. You get everything you need to know every single day, 2 hours before the opening bell as well. One-on-one DM access and the private community, 50% off. So make sure you grab that. This was from our newsletter as well. So we told you about the session. So session 1 was the era of XRP in capital markets. We had some bullish things from Brad. Again, not the best sort of technical setup, but he was calling it the North Star. He was again going on about the XRP army and how he likes the XRP army and the community. So bullish. Again, you can interpret that how you like. Is he just saying that because he has to say that? Well, I mean, if they hold a lot of XRP, at the end of the day, even if you don't believe in Ripple and what they're saying about XRP, they want XRP to do well. I'm in the business of making money, not marrying a token. If they want XRP to go up, because they have so much of it, that's great for me because my XRP goes up. Again, not financial advice, but my thoughts and opinions. We then had tokenized finance on the XRPL. Again, not the most interesting event. Again, a lot of monotone stuff going on, but again, it's the builders, so I don't expect it to be the most interesting. We looked at something very, very cool. What was it? It was when we saw the ETF. Oh, sorry, that was the ETF event. Sorry, the tokenization finance on XRPL. That was a great event. We had BlackRock, Fidelity, and other names in that. Was it? No, I apologize. God, it was so long ago. I remember now. Tokenized finance on the XRPL. That's when we got the major announcement. What was that major announcement? Where it was Aviva, UK company, seeks to tokenize products on the XRP ledger in collaboration with Ripple. That was a major announcement. They've got about $350 billion of US assets in, and we can see XRP's price now going up. Let me just remove that for a second, and let me remove that as well. $350 billion of $350 billion US dollars of assets under management. So that was a big announcement. The Aviva news was massive, and that was great. That was a special guest we had as well. Funding the XRP ecosystem, growth from regulated XRP investments. That's when we had the ETF issuers, Bitnormal, Grayscale, Bitwise. And that Grayscale lady was amazing. She's been long on XRP since 2017, was saying some great things as well. The ETF exposure has been great. They all basically, that event, they said, we're at the beginning. We're at 0. Now XRP can be put out pension funds, hedge fund managers, individual portfolios, 401ks in the ETF format. They were great and bullish. Then we had some more community builders, which was, again, slightly boring, but I'm not going to complain about it too much. And then we had, unfortunately, a terrible event with Stuart Alterati and just a long-time crypto holder. It was just a promotional event. I didn't like that at all. What else did we have? Martyn covered that event, and then we just covered... Oh, Evernorth was great during this event. I gave you all a link that Ripple was posting out, but I made sure you can all get your free merch. That was directly from Ripple. There is one more drop tonight, so good luck to everyone else. Keep an eye out on Ripple. What's the specific one? Ripple X. If you go to Ripple X Dev, they're the ones who'll be posting that link out. Make sure you put the code in and you get it for free. That's only if you're watching this live. By the time this comes out as a video, you've probably missed the opportunity to get the free merch. Then we went over to the XRP at the core of Ripple's business. That was Monica Long. We got some good takeaways there as well. So what I want to say is it looks like everyone's emotions are high. Why? Well, because this is the psychology of a market cycle. This is the crypto cycle. People are not used to this. Everyone gets euphoric. Everyone wants to buy XRP at $3.40. Everyone wants to buy at $3.20. Everyone wants to buy at $3. That's when they come in. They think they're geniuses. They think they're going to get rich. But guys, we're down here. We're either in denial. They're going to go back higher, or you're in panic. Everyone is selling. Or are you angry now? If you're in anger, because this is the type of cycle I think we're in. I think we've had one capitulation, maybe the anger stage over here, anger. We're going to get back up. So everyone's getting angry. Why are you shorting the market? Why is Ripple acting like this, that, and the other? Everyone seems to be angry at this stage. So what I expect and what I've been saying for the rest of this year is sideways action, bounces up from the 200-week moving average, which we have. Come to May, we might break those lows. Come to October, we might break those lows once again, go under $1. Head to this level over here, depression over here. And then that depression is when that's the final capitulation. Maybe we go down to 50 cents, 80 cents. And then, as Monica Long said, by the end of 2026, she is bullish. Institutions will be coming in big. Again, I'm still bullish on XRP. I love it when people are angry. I love it when people hate XRP. I love it when people are selling, because that's when I know we might be in the last stages of a bear market. What they said in this event was still great. There was a lot of building going on. There was a lot of people using it. There was building on the XRP ledger. We had some real great remarks about what the XRP ledger stands for and why institutions want to build on the XRP ledger. So I'm still bullish. Again, it's not a large part of my portfolio. I'm no longer emotional with this stuff. I know where I'm buying. I know where I'm selling. I post it on the newsletter as well. Right now we are back above 138, so that's great as well. So for once again, it's an emotional cycle. The crypto market is very different to others. I'll be releasing my full crypto playbook on the newsletter as well. First link in the description. You can get it for free. You can pay for it. Let me quickly end this video. There'll be 2 videos up here for you to watch. The newsletter sign up over here. Good luck to you. Follow the channel. I'll give you more updates. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. Okay, one final look at the chat. Vaz is about to go live. Vaz, you can go live. I'll send to you now. Angry. Everyone's angry. If everyone's angry, then we're probably in the anger stage of the psychology of the market cycle. Again, I have no emotion to any of this anymore. I don't get emotional about these things. Why? Well, because I've been in so many crypto cycles. I've had the emotions before. I now know what I'm doing. Emotions make you make bad decisions. Monica sounded really positive. She did. Time will reveal all. Yes, it will. I'm not married to Ripple as a company. I'm not sponsored by Ripple at the end of the day. I can make my own decisions. It's a part of my portfolio, maybe larger than it should be. But again, I can handle the risk. I'm young. I don't need the money. I can lose the money, whatever. If I was over leveraged with XRP, if I had too much, then maybe I'll be panicking a bit. But I'm not, because it's the right amount of my portfolio. The thesis on XRP hasn't changed. And the fact that people weren't on camera and it was about production doesn't change the thesis on XRP. Again, ask the questions. Keep these people accountable. They can't just get away with... We have to, as I've always said, keep these people accountable, because it is our money at the end of the day. But our goals are aligned with Ripple. Ripple want XRP to go up. I want XRP to go up. And again, it's whether you think Ripple as a company is a scam. Because if you think Ripple as a company is a scam and they're just trying to scam us all, well, why are you investing in XRP? If they're a scam, there's one of the biggest, best scams ever made. So I don't think they're a scam. I think they're building a product. I think obviously they want to push XRP up as well. So whether they're doing that in the right way or the wrong way, doesn't matter. I want to make money. They want to make money on their XRP. They're using XRP. They've got all of these employees building on XRP. So at the end of the day, I'm on the side that they want XRP to do well, and they're building on XRP. Butter wasted without bread. Here for the news. Thank you, Sensei. Your thoughts on where the price is going in the near term? In the near term, if we're above 138, I think we're going higher. If we're below 138, I think we're going lower. 138, all my levels were in the newsletter this morning. Sensei, you did great, and Martyn's a great show, guys. Yes, there will be more later, but we won't be covering it. It'll be it'll be sort of 3 a.m. UK time. All of that is on the website, martynlucas.com/XRP. Thank you, everyone. Let's go over to Vaz. Vaz is live right now. So, have we got Vaz's link? Vaz is starting now. I think we're going to redirect. I think Vaz said he's done the redirecting. So here is the link to Vaz. Next. Let me pin that. Replace pin message. If you haven't got the newsletter, I'll give you the link as well. 50% off today as well. You can message me straight after this. Good show. Thank you, William Bond. Thank you, William Bond. Knocking Star, great. It's time with the people. Sensei, you did a great. And Martyn, great show, guys. Thank you. Retail sentiment from watching today gives me bottom vibes. Yeah, Nick Jones. I'm getting that as well. I am annoyed. I'm just not emotional about the investment. The logic still stays. That's why I'm still in XRP. I mean, my cost average on XRP is about 50 cents, 60 cents maybe now. I've bought more, but even if I would be buying now if I didn't have any XRP. I bought just a week ago anyway. We made 46, 80% in a day. We're still up on all our holdings that we bought as well. Martyn is angry. Well, we'll hear more from Martyn. Martyn never likes it. Martyn always cares about how it's perceived for the audience. He always has high standards, and rightfully so. So yeah, Martyn didn't like the way that it was being presented today. Again, we'll hear from Martyn more. You're a trooper, Sensei. Thank you, Kinzansky. Great show. Appreciate it. Great job today. Thank you for streaming it. Yes, no worries at all, guys. I put a lot of effort into this one. I made a whole website for it, martynlucas.com/XRP. You can see all the countdown. There is more to come, so you can go see that. I won't be covering it, however. Yeah, that's all good. Thanks for the stream. I hope everyone got their merch as well. If you haven't got your merch, you have to keep an eye out on this. Turn your notifications on for this X channel. I'm not sponsored by them or anything, but is that one. They will be doing one more drop potentially in a few hours, so keep an eye out on that channel. Until next time, as always, I always care about you guys. I want to put on a good show for you guys, and that's why I spent all that time preparing for this show, putting that newsletter out, and making that website. So I hope you guys appreciate it. It's their fault. They didn't do a good job. Otherwise, our show would have been much better than it was. But until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. Stay where you are. You'll go directly to Vaz. Please say Sensei sent me. Say Sensei sent me. Sensei sent me. If you support today's show, please go and support Vaz and say Sensei sent me.